me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Right, good afternoon, people. Hope everyone is good, or as good as they're going to be from that embarrassment yesterday. I mean, it's about the fourth one on the trot. I mean, where we're going to go from here, I really don't know. Something seriously got to change, hasn't it? But that one, I suppose we'll see. We'll have a talk about the game. And here's my guest, Savva. How are we doing, mate?
I'm really good, mate. Thank you for having me on. I'm really, really good. Life is good.
Pleasure.
I'm just trying to decide which non-league club to go and support next season. That's what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay. So just on a basic, before we go into all the details and everything else and players and everything, What was your whole opinion on that game as a whole yesterday? The game as a whole, the setup we played, the way we went for it, or, well, tried to go for it and that. What was your opinion on the game itself, the whole game?
The only word I can use is embarrassment. If I'm going to be brutally honest, embarrassment in everything. Embarrassment in the team selection, embarrassment in the tactics, embarrassment in the substitutions, embarrassment in the way we defended, embarrassment in how bad we are going forward, embarrassment from the fans afterwards, trying to defend this absolute embarrassment. And now I will stop saying the word embarrassment.
It's fair enough. It's true. I can't argue on it. Do you know what? I wish I could sit here and debate you to the bone with this one, and I can't do it. And I can't see how anyone else could even try it. Right, just say hello to a couple of the crowd. Bill, big up to you both. Big up to you too, mate. Philly, 2109. Obel's call. Big up Savva and Dan alongside everyone with a magnificent chat. And what's this? The one up the top, good times. It's definitely not looking that way, is it, mate? And Tom, big up Dan and chat. Big up to you too, mate. Minerals, what are you saying here? Big up Dan and the lads. Minerals Generals. Ange needs to man up, bro. What happened? What happened to Tommy? Well, basically, he didn't want to do this anymore. He just had enough of talking about Spurs and found it depressing, basically, like I think most of us do. And he just didn't want to. He didn't want to do it anymore. So he asked me to take the show over because he didn't want it to just, get ditched, basically. And that's one thing I do appreciate Tom for. But mate, he just had enough of being a Spurs supporter and talking about it. So, an audio afternoon, chaps and chat. Afternoon to you too, Ram. Big up Dan and Savva. Matt, hope you're doing good, Matt. And Mari, big up, brothers. Last two. Michael, big up there. Yeah, you're a Liverpool supporter. You can do one at the moment, mate. And he's a good friend of mine. He's a Liverpool supporter. And Mineral, Sonia and Johnson have been terrible. There's where we can go. Right, the first bit I want to pick on this game, which obviously got spoke about by others. Why the hell was Royale sitting on that left-hand side again after what we see, what happened with Davis, where he got absolutely cooked by Saka, and Saka didn't even seem to have to put the effort in to get past him. The horrendous game he had against Chelsea. And then he just goes and does the same thing again. And we, me, you, practically everybody I know on here, can all sit here and say, right, that's going to happen. Saka's going to lose him and we're going to concede a goal for it. Lo and behold, same goals again. Why the hell was Royale even on there? Why didn't he give someone else a go? Why didn't he try something?
Look, I think what we've got here is we've got a guy that I think a lot of us, including myself, thought was going to be innovative. I thought he was going to try things. But we've got a guy who doesn't know how to try a single thing. He's not tried anything all season. And look, what you'll notice is, look, when Liverpool have some injuries, right? Liverpool at one point had Gomez and Trent Alexander-Arnold out for right back. So they go and get Conor Bradley from the youth team and drop him in at fullback. Look what we do. We don't do that.
No.
We drop in Emerson Royale, who is hands down one of the worst footballers I've ever seen in a Spurs shirt. And we've got fans that like him, and those fans don't deserve success. I'm going to be brutal today, Dan, because
say it as it is, mate.
You cannot be praising these average to poor footballers, right? And want success at your football club. Salah, in that first 16 minutes, I remember turning around. I was watching it with a few friends, and I said, the first 16 minutes, all I would do is get the ball to Salah. Constantly, Salah. Now, this is a Salah that's not in form. This is a Salah that's not been playing well and been getting a lot of stick in the press.
Lost some pace.
Gets put up against Spurs, right? Emerson Royal every time beat him, every time lost him. And you're thinking to yourself, we were going mad because we signed Dragushin in the window. Oh my God, he picked us over Bayern Munich. It shows how far we're coming as a club. So why not then, when you go to Anfield, you go into Anfield, Dan, we talked about this off screen. It's one of the most difficult places in Europe to go, right? It is.
One of the most deadly. It is.
Right? And we go there and decide, let's not sit back for half an hour. Or let's not sit in for 20 minutes and try and nullify their attack. No, we're just going to go and do our open play. We're going to leave Emerson Royal one-on-one with Mo Salah. Mate, it's a shambles. Everything about it is a shambles. But look, Emerson Royal, for me, we had people offering 20 million for him in the January transfer window. And
why didn't we take it?
People were saying, oh, he's a great squad player. This guy wouldn't look good in the Championship. This guy would not stand out playing in the Championship for Ipswich or for Leicester. It's embarrassing.
I don't think he would either.
He plays for my club. I'm embarrassed that he wears our shirt. I really am.
I mean, when it comes to defending, if you just stick him in the right back position, you can get a little something out of him. But as soon as he looks at the halfway line, he has a panic attack anyway. So playing him inverted, overlapping, whatever way going forward, unless you are playing him as a flat back four on the right, you're not going to get nothing out of the fella. And even then, you're still struggling with it.
Yeah.
I mean, with what everything you've said there, it's true. Why the hell is anyone... Why didn't we stick Dragusin in the middle, Van der Ven on the left? Not my first choice because we need him in the middle so much because of the way we always get copped over the top and he always has to save us. Poor man's going to have no hands.
But Dan, think about it, right? I agree with you. And I said last week I would never move Van der Ven out the middle. But if you go to Anfield, don't have the high line, right? Sit back a little bit with Romero and Dragushin and then have Van der Ven nullifying the pace of Mo Salah. Like little things like that. Or are you telling me, Dan, that through our under-21s that win every week and our under-20s and our under-18s, are you telling me there isn't one young left-back that we could have chucked in the way Chelsea did against Son the other day with Gilchrist?
Exactly. The way Liverpool done it with us, basically. I mean, if we've blatantly got nobody there, and we're pretty much at that point where it's looking like we haven't really got much to play for except a bit of pride and dignity, which I think we lost a long time ago anyway. Why don't he give one of the youths a go there? Why doesn't he put someone who actually plays that position there? Or even if he would have gone and stuck Dragusin there, I doubt it was going to be any worse than Royale. Just try something different. This is what is running me into the ground with this man. He's so set in his way. And there's a lot of people saying it'll change next season, this and that and everything else. Fine, I hope it does. But he hasn't done nothing. He hasn't done nothing to give me any hope that he's got any other ideas. It looks like this is his only way he knows how to play, let alone stubborn.
But you look at it, Dan, right? If you're Radu Dragusin, right, and you've just signed, you're seeing Udogi's out, Ben Davies is out, right? Then Royale's going in front of you in the back four. Then Ollie Skip is going in front of you in the back four. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm Dragusin, right, I am walking into that office today and going, I've made a mistake here. I've made a mistake. I've started one game, right? And then I'm seeing YouTubers put out nonsense like, oh, he had his one chance and he was terrible. It's one game. You got to give a guy some games. You've got to give him a chance to learn and play in the Premier League. And honestly, if I was him, I'd be off. I think we're a shambles.
I mean, his agent has already said something, isn't he? His agent has already jumped in and said something, which probably didn't do him no favours. But I've basically said the same thing on another show, mate, in the aspect of, if I'm Dragusin, I know I'm fighting with Van der Ven and Romero. I know that. But when I see that Ben Davies gets picked to go aside me on the left, and then Royale gets picked twice over me after having a shambles of a game as well, and then he goes and puts Skip in the back left. And Skip didn't do too bad for what he was there for. He done better than Royale, and that just about says it all. Yeah. I'm going to be sitting there thinking, hang on a minute, what the fuck is actually going on here? Why did I even actually come here when I'm getting... Right, it might not be my prime position, but surely I can do a better job than Davies and bloody Royale.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm just looking. I know that England. I know that the Spurs under-21s are playing right now, aren't they? I'm just having a look. So Spurs have got a left back. What's his name? In the under-21s, Mason King. There we go. Mason King in the under-21s playing right now. Are you telling me you couldn't have put him on there and he would have done worse than Emerson Royale?
I don't know.
I'm embarrassed, Dan. What's embarrassing more for me than anything is you hit the nail on the head. It's the same every game, right?
Same goals every game.
Ange comes out in these press conferences and says things like yesterday, he had the audacity after the game to say that was more like it how we played in the first half. Yeah. Our pressing was nearly back to where it was. Liverpool should have been 8-0 up at half time. What is he?
Yes.
What is he talking about? And fans, listen, people always have a go at me for having a go at fans, but we buy into it. Not all of us. We have fans that buy into it and go, oh, well, he hasn't got his players. He's signed 10 players so far at this club. He's signed 10 players, right? He signed Kulu. People don't want to believe it. He signed off on Kulu and Johnson. 2 of the front 3 yesterday, right?
Solomon.
Maddison was his. Solomon was his. Valise was his. Dragusin is his. Van der Ven is his. Vicario is his.
Velez.
He's the one that decided Papa Sarr should go into the midfield because none of the other managers were playing him, and I can see why. He's another one who's shit. Sorry, I'm going in on all of them, Dan. I think the whole thing. I think the whole thing. These midfielders, like yesterday, if you want to go and try and play, but if you want to go and try and play football at Liverpool, right? If you want to go and play football at Liverpool. Surely one of the midfield 3 has got to be someone that can pick a pass. Lo Celso, Maddison. He's gone with Sarr, Bentancur and Basuma. All 3 absolutely anonymous. Bentancur is awful, by the way. People don't want to...
He has gone downhill.
He is shocking. But look, he's not trying anything. You've got Porro, who played in a wing-back formation for Sporting Lisbon. You've got Udogie, who played in a wing-back system for Udinese. You've got Dragushin, who played on the right of a free for
Genoa. He also played right back with them.
You've got Romero, who played in a back three for Atalanta. And I'm sitting there watching it thinking, all the players we've bought don't suit this back four. But he won't change it. He doesn't change it at all. It's the same thing week in, week out. And then, honestly, when I put on YouTube channels, I'm not going to name names, but I put on YouTube channels sporadically last night to watch different shows. I'm seeing things like, I can see what we're trying to do, right? We were much better today. We fought back. What are we watching?
We did not fight back. They basically let us back in the game, same as Arsenal, because they got complacent. That's all there is to it. The job was already done. I mean, the other thing the thing that is getting to a lot of people at the moment, it is the fact that he changes nothing. I mean, even with that, if he'd have stuck Dragusin on the left and said, right, Porro, keep doing your thing, but every time you go forward, we then bring it back into a back three.
Yeah.
Because we haven't got a man on the left who can do it.
Right.
That don't take no coaching course or that's just common sense. You ain't got to be a manager to work some of that out. And to me, some of the problems, they are so simple, but he does nothing. One of my prime ones is against Newcastle. They was all over us. The balls were coming over down the flanks, same way, down the middle, same as they do every bloody game. And we concede. Right. The way I would have dealt with that, fine, I'm no professional manager, but to me, this is just common sense. Right, boys, come back 10 yards, soak it up a little bit, slow the game down, and then let's get stuck into them again. No, same way, and then within, 90 seconds, 2-0 down, then 3-0 down. And then he goes and does his thing of what he's like doing in other games with Fulham, this game, Newcastle, where he doesn't even attempt to make a change until the game's already lost.
Look, can I read some stats out to you that I've put together?
Go for gold, mate.
Is that all right? And this is the thing, right? I've had people, by the way, as you know, my channel's now no longer my channel. I believe the new boys that are taking it over are going live with their first show tonight. But what I did was I put out a post last night, Dan. I'm not sure if you saw it. I put out a post saying, look, channel's gone over to someone else. However, here's my final thoughts on Spurs, right? And I went in hard. And I got people coming back to me like, we can't sack another manager, and it's only his first season, and all of this kind of stuff. Oh, it's not bad, and we're playing good football. And I started to do some digging just to see what all the fuss was about. And I'm going to read it out to you, Dan. All right? So here's a few things for you. So if you hear me mention in all these stats the last 25 games, what that is, that's the 25 games since the 10 games where we won 8 and drew 2. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's since then. So in the last 25 games, only Luton, Sheffield United and West Ham have conceded more than Tottenham Hotspur. That means in the last 25 games, we've got the 16th worst defence in the Premier League. Right? Bournemouth have conceded 13 less goals. Everton have conceded 15 less goals than us. Right? Let that sink in for a second. Right? I hear Romero's amazing. Van der Ven's amazing. Udogie's brilliant. Porro's great. Basuma's great. Bentancur. We've conceded the 16th most goals in the last 25 games. Right? Palace. Sorry, in those 25 games, we've accumulated the same amount of points as Everton, who are in a relegation battle. We've accumulated 34 points, the same as Everton, the same as West Ham, the same as Wolves with Gary O'Neill, right? Now, you think how many injuries Wolves have got for the last 4 months to all of their top players, right? And we've got the same amount of points as them for the last 25 games. In that time, Palace, who were in a relegation battle before they brought in Glasner, have only got 6 points less than us in that period of time. So this wonderful Ange ball, everything's great, we're going to challenge for titles, all these fans going, we're winning a league, 6 points more than Crystal Palace, who have been missing Elise and Eze nearly all season. right? Who have been missing Decore nearly all season, Mark Guehi nearly all season, their goalkeeper nearly all season, right?
Newcastle, who they've been missing nearly nearly their main 11, not far from it.
In our last 8 games, we've only beaten Forest and Luton, 2 teams in a relegation battle, right? And in our last 7 games, we've only won 1 and lost 5, right? In the last 5 games, we're second bottom in the form table. Only Sheffield United have got less points than us. Where do we go with this? In our last 4 games, we've conceded 68 shots on our goal. And 68 shots on our goal, 37 of them on target, right? 37 of them on target. 1 win in 7, 4 away defeats in a row, 4 defeats in a row, 13 conceded in 4 games. We're 14th in the form table for the last 10 games. This is our worst run of form in the Premier League for 20 years.
20, yep.
Right? And was there one more? Was that? I think that would be enough. Now, when I put those stats to people and they're going to me, but don't worry, Ange,
it will change.
It will change. And Ange is telling people we're going to go for a title race next season. These are the same fans that were telling me we're in a title race this year and we're currently sitting 23 points away from it, which is further away than this time last year. Nothing has improved. Nothing has improved at this football club in a year.
Well, you look at this, like some of the stats I've got as well. I mean, quite minimal compared to your ones, but there are some solid points. So far this season, we've conceded 58 goals. Last season, we conceded 63 goals. Now, you go and look at that defence last season,
right,
and the season before that Conte had to, like, he had no option but to play defensive football.
Royal,
yes, it looked
Davis, Dyer,
Sanchez, Longley.
Yeah,
and they
Sessegnon.
And they conceded 63. We're now on 58. I don't think it's, if we don't level up with that, it's gonna be very close either way. That just about tells you everything. Goals scored this year hasn't actually been our weakest point. It's just getting the goals that have actually mattered. I mean, if I got it right, last season we scored 70, and this season we've scored about 68, 69, give or take one. But it's in the games that matter. Stel's the one who shows this up perfect, of whether it's Richarlison, whether it's Johnson, and the majority
it's
of the
who
others
they score against, right?
Exactly. They only score against the bottom half teams. The only one who actually manages to score against the bigger teams, really, is Son. And he's definitely blown out as well at the moment, isn't he?
Well, I think he's dreadful.
He has been poor. So with this great defence we've got, and really, if you go player for player, it's a pretty solid defence, you would think. And it's got to be 10 times better than the last defence we had.
Can I just say something? There's someone in your chat called Alistair, right? And big up Alistair, who's going, this is high school level analysis. I've just given a sample size of 25 Premier League games, which is well over half a season, right? If I'm not wrong, that's nearly 2/3 of a season, right? Yeah, 25 games is 2/3 of a season. I've given a sample size of 2/3 of a season. I've given a sample size of defeats, goals conceded, number of losses, form table. So why on earth, when he's saying high school level analysis, what other analysis does he need?
They are just facts.
10 games we've won in our last 25, right? I think it's actually 10 in our last 26 now, right? But out of both cups in the first rounds, what other analysis needs to be looked at? Because this is what I don't get. Fans like that, I'll say this right now, fans like Alistair, they've got the club they deserve because they're looking at this, can't see an issue. I'm looking at this, every other fan base is laughing at us because we had fans who made videos telling people we were going to finish above Arsenal, telling people that we were going to get more points than Arsenal, telling people that we were going to finish top of the table. We got fans that someone come onto your show and said, The only difference between us and City is we play in white, they play in blue. What are we watching? Why does it need realistic fans to look at this and go, this is crap, right? We'll get called negative. We always get called negative, Dan. You're negative. For pointing out facts, you're negative. But this is an awful, awful setup. That the tactics from this guy, the midfield is completely
lost. Working.
It's
not
blatantly
not working. I mean, the other point is we've now conceded, give or take one, I think it's 15, 16 on the set pieces overall. We're now joint third worst in the Premiership. Joint third worst.
So tell me what
got to be about
30%
of our goals. That's got to be about 30% of our goals coming through set pieces. And then he blatantly makes a statement like, I've got bigger problems, basically. To cut a long story short.
Let me ask you, Dan, with all the stats I've just given, the stat you've just given, the stat Chris Sperrin just gave in the chat, what does he do well? What is this team good at?
About the only thing we seem to be able to do is hold on to the ball for a bit. But the reason that's happening
with no penetration, like with not going anywhere.
Exactly. And the reason we're even getting to hold on to the ball more, if some people haven't noticed, is because the other team is letting us do it. There's not many times you go to Anfield and you have more possession. What was it? We had 54.5. They had 45.5. Something along those lines. Because they let us basically do it.
Because they know we can't do anything with this possession.
Against Arsenal, we had a massive possession. Against Newcastle, against Fulham, against all these teams, we keep having this 60, 70, 75% possession and fuck all to show for it at the end of the day. And the fact that we take more chances in front of our own bloody goal than we do the other goal. Even the way the players are playing, you can blame some of this on the players without a doubt because they're just blatantly playing.
Do you think they're playing for him?
I don't think this is what I'm about to ask you. To me, the way the players are playing, the way I've seen things happen in the past with not just Spurs, but other clubs, but definitely at Spurs, I'm already starting to think, is it that they're just like, season's done and dusted? Or has he actually started losing the dressing room?
I think he's lost the dressing room. Sorry, I've got to address this guy again. Sorry. Alistair said I'm reactive. Alistair, I've been saying this. Dan, we were YouTubing together. I said this after the first 10 games of the season. This is not sustainable. This football will not work, right? Reactionary isn't taking a snapshot of 25 games. Reactionary is if we lose one game and then people start going, oh, we're rubbish. This is 25 games of horrific form. Right? This is absolutely shocking form. Saying you're not looking at the whole picture and context. What context am I missing? What it is, right? Here's what I'll say. Everybody is so worried about losing viewers. I'll call it out. Everyone is so worried about losing viewers and losing super chats and losing subscribers, right? That they won't say what is right. They won't say the truth. Everybody, all these happy, clappy people that just say things like, trust in Ange. All right, but I need something to see where I trust in him. I need to see that we get battered at Newcastle, right? That's fine. We get battered at Newcastle. I can take that, right? Then I want to see, right, what are you doing in the next game to counter that? What have you learnt from that game? Nothing. Okay, cool. You then lose to Arsenal. How are you countering that against Chelsea away? Nothing. Do the same thing again. Brilliant. Okay, so now we're going to Anfield. How are you going to change it up? Nothing. Same thing again. All of this, just believe in Ange, trust in the process. I need to see something, Dan, to trust in it. Because at the moment, the players don't look like they trust in it.
No.
Yeah? Most sensible fans are looking at this going, hang on, this is as shit as last year. But the difference is we don't put 10 men behind the ball.
Mate, to me, this looks worse than last year. This is actually looking worse for me.
I agree.
I mean, I just want to bring up a point on here that Chris has said, and excellent point, mate. Congested attack, Totally agree. That's the wing backs, inverted wing backs being up there. Maddison not knowing what to do in there where he's congested, even though he has been playing shit. We know that. And it's so boxed up in there that they haven't really got any option where to pass it out to.
I agree.
Set pieces a miss, 100%. They're 30% of the goals we conceded, 25, 30%, whatever way you want to put it. One ball over the top, and we are in the abyss. Mate, you just smashed that nail clean on the head.
Bang on. And you know the funny thing, Dan? When we actually started to look dangerous at the end of the game, did you notice how they abandoned Ange ball to do it? And we went direct into a striker, which isn't Ange ball.
No, it looked like they stood there and said, do you know what? Stuff this. We're going to do it our way. Like what Romero did the other day against Arsenal. Yep. Sure as hell he weren't meant to be playing like that by the manager. And you could see that he just had enough and just went, do you know what? I'm going to take this into my own hands.
The thing for me is, big up, Stel. The thing for me is...
Morning, afternoon.
I get it, right? After one or two bad defeats, right, in the last 25 games, it can seem reactionary. After 3 or 4, maybe reactionary. Mate, we've taken a spanking from Liverpool, who are not informed, by the way. This is a Liverpool that Crystal Palace went to Anfield and beat them, right? This is a Liverpool that got beaten 3-0 at home to Atalanta. You know why? Because Atalanta and Crystal Palace didn't decide to go gung-ho and play a high line to leave players like Mo Salah to have the freedom of the park. Right?
Also, this Liverpool team ain't meant to be scoring goals lately, are they?
I said yesterday morning, you watch. This is a Liverpool team who are misfiring, can't score goals. You watch. All of a sudden, they will find their touch. The worry for me with all of this, Dan, is the club aren't learning, the manager's not learning, the fans aren't learning, and if it was getting better game by game, or if you could see that we were improving from the beginning of the season to now, you go, okay, it's not great, but they're getting used to it, right? You can see it. But it's getting worse game by game. There's no midfield play at all. We've got the worst wingers in the league. I'll stand by that. I think we've got 2 of the worst wingers in the league in Johnson and Kulusevski. Just awful footballers.
Yep.
I just don't know. I'll happily play the villain. I'm no longer on YouTube. I'll happily play the villain. I'm negative. But you know what? I'm going to sit here and say it now. Call me arrogant, whatever you want. I've been spot on about Tottenham Hotspur all season. Nothing is what I said it wouldn't happen.
I remember at the very start, because I came on 1 or 2 of your shows, when this debate was on there. Certain people saying we're going for the title. Other people are saying it looks good and everything else. You said it, I said it, and Mr. Box Office said it as well. This ain't going to work full time. You cannot play this way in the Premiership, game in, game out. But we all thought he might have a little plan on his side. It's definitely not looking that way. I mean, still, how do you see all of this yesterday? Everything that's happened, been happening, the manager?
Hello to you, hello to Savva. Sorry, mate. I've only woke up half an hour ago. I was up doing a stupid stream, arguing stupid points, getting angry. Do you know, it's exactly the same as every other season, just repackaged. Same item with a different wrapper. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I think the 2 biggest concerns I've got is, one, our fan base just, this is normal. It's okay. It
accepts.
Let's blame. Let's attack the manager. Let's attack this. Let's attack that. Rightly so. Criticise the manager, but I don't know what manager they want. Like, what manager do you want then? Like, who do we want? Because they all come here and they all start doing weird things, and that leads on to my second issue. Dan, can you just bring up this? Just let me share the screen with you quickly.
Right. Go for it, mate.
There you go. It's if you just do share screen. Okay. So when we beat Manchester United, people said, "Oh, how did Spurs go to Old Trafford and play passing football, front foot football against Manchester United when they had Højbjerg skip in midfield, Ben Davies or whoever was playing? I don't know. They were a depleted team, yet they could go to Old Trafford and play good football." And one of the journalists said to Ange, What do you think about people that say that you can play good football and Ten Hag, he can't? Because Ten Hag came out and said, I can't play the football that I want to play because I haven't got the players to play it. And Ange was asked a question around that. And this is what he said. The amount of times I hear managers saying, I would like to play this way, but I don't have the players. I just think, just do it, mate. So he's saying, rubbish to what Ten Hag said. That's a nonsense. Just do it. Don't make excuses. That's effectively what he says. This is what he said last week. I've got to change the squad. I've got to build a squad. I think that we can play our football. So now he's saying, I can't play our football because I need to change the squad. But a few months ago, just do it, mate. So when I see stuff like this, Dan, I don't know what to think of the manager.
Still, can I?
This is what Conte, Jose, Poch, Redknapp, they all spoke cryptically and wishy-washy, contradictory. They did that, and it's almost like these are the signs of it beginning to unravel again.
But still, can I just come in on that? For me, I kind of agree with you. Whenever a manager comes here, it seems like they suddenly lose their mind, right? It suddenly goes from, we're no longer a football manager, we're just playing for fun, right? All I want is a manager that isn't Conte with 10 men behind the ball and all defensive. Isn't Ange Postecoglou with a high line on the halfway line. Why can't we just have a manager that just does normal? Like, why can't we have a manager that focuses on both? Like, I'm not saying I want these managers, but how do Wolves with their limited squad, right, manage to get good results? I'm not saying Wolves are better than us, by the way, before anyone says, because they shouldn't be with the squad they've got. But Gary O'Neill, for example, you watch him, he mixes it up, he changes tactics. How does Thomas Frank get the best out of that Brentford team where I think their most expensive signing ever is like £14 million?
Yeah.
How does Glasner at Crystal Palace has gone in there and, listen, I'm not saying Palace are brilliant to watch. He's made them tough to beat. He's playing to their strengths. He's sorted them out of the back. They don't let in goals. Bet they let in 4 tonight now, I've said that. They score in goals as well. We seem to get managers and it has to be completely one way or the other. And then we've got fans that go, oh, but you wanted an attacking manager. No. I want to play good football, but I don't want someone that just goes, you know what, we're just going to let in 58 and counting goals so far. Because this football isn't a complicated game. And for me, I don't know, Stel, you've got your coaching badge in that. For me, I think football is a very simplistic game being overcomplicated with inverted fullbacks that come into midfield, wide men that are told not to go out wide, centre-backs that are told to play on the half. I feel like we're really overcomplicating what is a very simple game. And people are going, oh, Ange ball. Listen, I'm not taking away from, we all know Levy's the bigger problem, but a lot of what we're seeing at the moment, this is on Ange. A lot of what we're seeing is on Ange.
So to answer your question, what you want isn't a representation of what every fan wants. And this is the problem we've got at the club right now. What you explained to me is a manager that's going to end up finishing between 10th and 6th, what you described. For us to finish higher, which is what other fans want, you can't just do that. You actually need to be better than that. But to be better than that, you've got to sign better players. But the problem is the manager has come out and said, I can't sign superstars. I can't spend big money on players. We don't do that here at Tottenham. I don't think Tottenham will ever do that. That's what our competitors do. So the reality for me is this. We want to be a big 6 club, but behave like one. But the reality is we behave like a mid-table club.
Mid-table.
So where we are, we're actually punching above our weight. You're bringing in mid-table managers. You're making mid-table signings, but we're 6th, 5th. We're punching above our weight if you properly deep it and say, how good is this manager? How good are these players? How good was that transfer window now in reflection? And the solution is you can bring in a Thomas Frank, you can bring in a Glasner, you can bring in Gary O'Neill. But the beauty for those managers is they're...
By the way, I wasn't saying to bring them in, by the way. I was just making an example of managers that go to a
how
club,
are they doing well?
Have less to work with, but actually make their teams... Look, I don't know if you heard the stats before, Stel, of in the last 25 games, we've let in more goals than 16 other Premier League clubs.
Oh,
We've had
worse
two clean sheets. Two clean sheets in about 27 games now.
It's shocking.
The stats for this manager is now worse than Conte and Jose, right? So the point being, we could bring in managers who are below us, who, let's say, they're getting a better tune with less. But what I feel is those managers, they're not under pressure at those clubs.
Sure.
If they came to Spurs, I think they'd come here. You'd get a bounce. Like we've got a bounce with Conte. We've got a bounce with Jose. We've got a bounce with Nuno. Remember, Nuno won Manager of the Month after 3 games, right? We'll get a bounce. We'll get a bounce. Ange gave us a bounce. They'll come in. They'll get a bounce. But then the pressure of our fan base, the pressure of being apparently a Big Six club kicks in, and then they start unraveling because this club, it claims it has a plan. But then I listened to Ange and I asked myself, but is there a plan? Because you're saying one thing, then you say something else. I just think this club...
Still, 3 weeks ago,
go on.
3 weeks ago, this manager said, we will be in a title race next season. Right?
Yep.
Fast forward 3 weeks when we've lost 4 games on the spin, and he's now saying, I need to sell everyone and I need better players to make this plan work. Whoa. Hang on, mate. Yeah. You were the one, not you. You were the one, Ange, saying...
Not me.
No, not you still. You were the one saying, every player that comes into this football club, I decide. Right?
Yep.
The Alistair Golds of this world, the Dan Kilpatricks, they were reporting on transfer deadline day that Brennan Johnson was the number 1 target that Ange had been chasing for a month. Right? So which one is it? Right? Which one is it? Are we challenging for a league title next year, or hang on, nothing's good enough, we need to be much better in the market? And then in the same breath going, well, we don't sign top players. Like, well, which one? Where are we then? What are we? This is
why I was arguing last night with fans, because I was saying to them, you told me that these players are Ange's signings. But these attacking signings, they're looking pretty bad. But now you're saying to me, oh, but listen to Ange. You don't listen to Ange. Ange is saying we need to get new signings in. I'm like, but hold on. Yeah. He signed 9 players.
Yeah.
He did.
What we spent 220 million.
9.
You're saying 47 million on Brennan Johnson. 47 million on Brennan Johnson. You're telling me my man didn't have an idea for something else or couldn't see anything better?
Dragusin, he's sitting there watching Oliver Skip being picked ahead of him as a defender, coming on off the bench. He's sitting there watching Emerson Royale starting ahead of him as a defender. He must be thinking, oh my God, the manager thinks that Oliver Skip, Emerson Royale and Ben Davies can do a better defensive job than me. Why am I here? Why am I at this club? So you're looking at that, and this is why I got into argument with fans, because I actually think we're in a really weird place now. All the fans that hyped up Ange Ball, it's a breath of fresh air. Look at this free-flowing football. Look at Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner, good bit of business. Bergvall, just you wait when Bergvall plays for us. They're the same fans now who are saying, oh, but Ange has said he needs to get rid of lots of players, and Ange has said that we need new signings. And I said to them,
right, which one is it?
But you're the ones that praise the signings he made. And now they're the ones he wants to change.
We're winning the league. You're negative for saying we're not winning the league. But we can't win the league because Ange needs better players. Well, which one is it? Right? Just quickly, Dan, let me just add it on one more thing, right? What completely dumbfounds me as well with this football club is for years we talked about, all last year, do you remember we talked about having a clear out in the summer? You know, Dyer must go. Lloris must go. All of these must go, right? We start letting them go. We start getting rid of these players. Only to then go and buy, no disrespect, Solomon's. Right? Werner's. Brennan Johnson's. Phillips. So what you're doing is you're getting rid of all the deadwood that no one wanted to buy for 5 or 6 years.
To buy the other deadwood.
Doing is replacing it with more average footballers. So what happens then is for the next 5 years now, it'll be, oh, well, give him a chance. He's only been here a year. Give him a chance. He's only been here 2 years. A new manager will get the best out of this. I'll ask you now, who has Ange got the best out of from last year? Name me one player that Ange has got the best out of this season. that wasn't
Probably
his
Van de
signing.
Ven.
That wasn't his signing.
That's a good point. Because
No
I'm trying
one.
to think that now. And if anything, he's made players actually look worse.
Basuma looks worse,
And-
I think. I think
Oh,
Benson
hands
Core
down.
looks dreadful. Yeah, James Maddison, this is the worst I've seen James Maddison look. This is a guy, James Maddison, that for the last 5 or 6 years has got over 20 goal goal contributions every season for Leicester. But you bring him into an Ange system, and all of a sudden
Correct. That's the point.
Maddison's not very good. Well, hang on, Maddison was brilliant for Leicester for 4 or 5 seasons. Honestly, people are saying Romero. Did you watch Romero yesterday? How many times you wanted to pass it away, give it away? I
This
think
season,
all,
though, with these 2 points, Romero and Porro, I think they're fair points because Romero has been pretty much better as a whole this season than he was last season, and so has Porro. But with Porro, it was a bit hard not to be any worse than he was last season because he was just shambolic last season. But they're about the only 2 I can actually think of that you could say have even looked a bit better.
Romero's about to be part of 2 of our worst ever Premier League defences in our Premier League history.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not blaming it all on him. I know there's tactics in that, but sometimes that speaks volumes, right? Last season, what I heard about Romero was, it's because he plays with Davis and Dyer that they concede so many goals. This season, we could concede more depending on how many Man City put past us, and he's not playing with Davis and Dyer. So, for me, I just think they're all well overrated, Dan. I said, for me, if I woke up tomorrow morning, right, the only player I would be bothered about if I saw being sold tomorrow is Van de Ven. And that's from the whole squad. I don't care. There's no one that I'm emotionally attached to or that I think they take us to the next level. Van de Ven is the only one in our entire squad for me.
I think for me, go on, Stel.
I disagree a bit with Savva on this, right? I actually don't have an issue with what Ange is trying to do. Because I think sometimes I say certain things and maybe it gets lost in translation. I don't disagree with what Ange is trying to do. Okay, I think his strategy is correct. He wants us to keep possession of the ball. He wants us to be more attacking, and when we do get it right, playing out from the back, it looks bloody good. And when we do get it right in the final third, which has not been as often in the last 2-3 months, it is pretty good. So I where he wants to take it, I totally agree. Right, his strategy of possession-based football on the front foot, I totally agree with him. Where I've got a gripe with is how he delivers the strategy. If you see how Jurgen Klopp set up his 4-3-3, and you look at how we set up our 4-3-3, and you look at how Pep and Arteta set up their 4-3-3s, for me, ours is the best in terms of pressing, but it's the most risk naive from a defensive perspective. And if you don't take your chances, you're crucified. So I find that there's 3 things that I don't agree with him. The inverted fullbacks, I think it's a joke.
Oh, I agree.
You're taking players that can actually be half decent fullbacks, attacking wingbacks, especially Porro. You're saying, no, go into the 10 role. They're not good at it. Yep. I disagree with the number 6 being so bloody high up the pitch so often. Mm-hmm. The number 6 shouldn't be on the edge of the box pretty much every time we attack. He's got to be the player that covers the wing backs if a counter-attack comes. He shouldn't be high up the pitch making these 80-yard run dashes back to save us. And the last thing I disagree with that Ange does in terms of how he does the tactic is there are times when we play it out from the back where you've just got to say, do you know what? Just send the pass long. Just send the ball long and wide into the channels and exploit the space because the other team's pressed us. The space is in behind. And players that like an Emerson Royale or players like a Ben Davies, they get caught out, or Pape Sarr, who's still learning the game at this level, gets caught out, and then it puts our defense under ridiculous pressure. Or sometimes a good player like a Romero Van de Ven, they're on the ball and they can't find the ball to release, and then they take 1 touch, 2 touch, 4, 5, 6 touches. Right, you've killed the point of playing out from the back now because the quick movement to play it out from the back, you've now blown it.
You've negated it.
Wide, or go back to the goalie, let him find a different route. But those 3 things never change. That never changes. And for me, this is my issue with his tactic. It's man, when it works, great, but it hasn't been working for a while. Don't stop playing possession-based football. Don't stop playing that attacking game. Adapt how you do it.
But can I disagree with you slightly?
And it looks ugly, Savva. It looks ugly.
I want to disagree with you slightly. I agree with with your statement of the possession game, but I disagree with the fact that we attack. I don't think we attack.
It doesn't look attacking.
You watch how many times we have people go, we had 70% today. We have more possession than Arsenal, more possession than Liverpool. It's all back, sideways, back, sideways, back, sideways. But this is where I do agree with your other point, Stel. There's no outlets, right? Take James Maddison, for example. James Maddison is used to playing in a midfield that worked at Leicester. Whatever we say, you had Ndidi, who was an out-and-out number 6, Tielemans, who was your box-to-box, and James Maddison made them tick, right? He had 2 wingers out wide, whether that was the days of Mahrez or whether it was Albrighton or whoever. They had wingers out wide that he could funnel the ball to, and he had a striker, Vardy, who made those runs down the channel, right, that he could link up with. He's come to Spurs now. You've got him in the number 10. You've got our centre mids, like Stel said, so high up the pitch, they're congesting that area where Maddison should be. You've got Porro and Udogie, they're now going into that area to congest it. Right?
Maddison, and you've got coming back.
Kulu and Johnson, who don't beat their man on the outside, they come inside as well. So when James Maddison gets the ball, and I saw, I don't know if it was Rio Ferdinand or someone I saw do this the other day, they did a tactical thing, and they showed 10 to 15 occasions where Maddison picked the ball up for Spurs, and he just had so many bodies around him that there was no space for him to operate in. There was no out ball. There was no through ball to make. There's no centre forward for him to link up with. Now, I'm not excusing Maddison. I think he's been poor. But you've got 2 fullbacks that should be wing backs, in my opinion. They should be wing backs. Flying down the wing.
Overlapping should definitely be doing it. That is the best you'll get out
offering
of
width. Right?
And our only crosser on the ball.
But we don't. Everyone comes inside. And the problem is, the moment the ball's lost, everyone's in the opposition half. Now, City can do it. They got Rodri sitting in there, right? They've got players like Kyle Walker, who no one gets past. They've got players like Diaz and Stones, who are brilliantly positional-wise, good on the ball, good in the tackle. We're doing this with really subpar footballers that don't know those patterns. Now, if you've got those players, the manager for me is either has to change his tactics, or not buy half the footballers he bought last summer. Because, like Stel said, he's bought in 9 players. All the wingers other than Son are his. Kulu, Werner, Solomon, Johnson, right? They're all his wingers. Mm-hmm. Valise is his striker. Yeah, these are his forwards. So when people say, sorry, I know I'm ranting. When people say, give him time, it's year 1, we're going to see what we do this summer. I'll throw a question to you two. Do you two trust that this man can be given 200 million and is not going to buy more crap like Werner, Johnson, Solomon?
I would hope that Werner was just... Now, when it comes to Werner, I get the point. I don't rate the player, but I get the point on why we got him. He plays the same way as Son, basically in every way, except he's a poor man's Son. It's something I repeat over again. I can get why we put him there as a gap filler, but nothing more, nothing less. There was probably better out there if he looked for it, but for a gap filler, I could understand that. If he then goes and buys Timo Werner, then I'm with a lot of other people and I'm Ange out, because then he obviously hasn't got a clue on what he's doing. It's even with this type of money that he's going to be getting, which isn't going to be the most money a Premiership team gets, but it's going to be significant amounts of what he's ever had before, being a lot smaller leagues like Scotland, Japan, Australia. In his own way, I think he's going to get supported by Levy, but in his way, not the way the club needs. Yeah, not the way the club needs to be supported like that. Because Ange, to me, comes across as more of like, and it's no disrespect to anyone, but a Brighton sort of manager who can go and get the rough diamonds and shine them up a little bit. The way we are doing this, no, he hasn't so far. That is what I would
So
see.
9 players, not one.
As
It's been a rough diamond.
The only player. The only player that I think has been a rip-roaring success from the 9 players he signed, right, is Mickey van der Ven, right? Mm-hmm. But what you'll get is Mickey van der Ven, everyone will go, that's his signing. Because why? Because it worked out. You watch. Yeah. People in the chat will say, Dragusin wasn't his signing. You can just tell. Hang on. Well, we can't do that. It can't be one.
He said no one comes in here without me wanting them. His words.
I agree with you, Dan. I think the players he wants, I think he believes he's a better manager than he is. I think he believes that the caliber of players he brought into a Celtic, he can bring into a Tottenham, and the camaraderie, the togetherness, the ethos will all bring them together to form us. The part of the sum of the parts are better than one, or whatever that saying is, right? Unfortunately, you're talking about being 23 points off Liverpool, City, Arsenal, right? You're talking about a club like, I think we talked about this the other day still. Might not have been, but Arsenal are going out and buying Declan Rice to shore up their midfield. And what a footballer Declan Rice is. We're going out and going, Papa Sarr, I think he's bang average. Papa Sarr, go on, you go in there. And it's like, that's the difference. You ain't catching those teams. You ain't catching them with these signings.
When it comes to transfers, this is what I think is going on. All right. Spurs don't want to spend the budget each season on 3 or 4 top players. They don't want to do that. No. They've got a different strategy, which is let's get hopefully 1 or 2 good ones. A couple of, our scouts, our data analytics has told us that there might be potential players below the radar that actually are better than what the other clubs think. Let's get those in, and they end up either flopping or being whatever, wishy-washy. And then let's get a couple of young ones, right? It's just a mixed bag. It's like Bassett's all sorts, right? But a bag of Skittles. And then what they do is managers like Ange are told, look, Ange, we're not going to go and sign 1, 2, 3 top players, and then next summer you've got to wait, we'll do it again. We're not doing that here. We've got a different strategy. And Ange looks at it and says, yeah, I can do that. I think I can work in that Levy world. I can work in this way of running a club. They come in, that initial bounce, that honeymoon period. It looks like it's working. And what happens is fans buy into it because it's looking good in the beginning, and they feel that we've got some kind of moral victory. You see, we don't have to spend billions like Chelsea. We don't have to spend billions like Man United and Man City. Look at Arsenal, 100 million Declan Rice. We don't need to do that.
Yeah, we bought Basuma for a quarter of that price. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Because we've got Ange. And Ange, he's a proper manager. He fits us. He gets us. He does it the Tottenham way. You hear all these things. Then Ange, at some point, something happens. But just Ange, any manager, they think, this way that I've agreed to don't work here. This actually doesn't work. What I need to do is buy really, really good players like my rivals do. And then you start hearing the comments. We've got to rebuild. I need to get rid of these players. So all those people looking for the moral victory and this shining light of Spurs can do it a completely different way to all the winners. Our way will work. And for 24 years, we've proven it
the right way.
Work. The Tottenham way, right? This is what happens. So if we're going to talk about transfers, Ange, he can't do it his way because this league does not allow that. This league is too good. There's too many good teams that sign too many good players. It might get us top 4. We might go on a good cup run, but that's as far as it gets, just like Poch did and all the others. And the kicker is this. If Ange wants to properly rebuild, let's say he's now had that epiphany, right? Do you know what? I get it now. I get it. I need to buy those 3 or 4 top players. He now has to confront the board with that and tell them, I can't do it your way. This is how it needs to be done. The last person that did that was Conte. Look what happened. So,
still, let me ask you a question.
It didn't go right, did it?
Let me ask you a question. If you look, if we look at the best 2 teams in the country for the last 2 years, in City and Arsenal, right? Let's look at. I know they've got loads of players, but let's look at their probably their favourable midfield threes. Right? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Midfield is the engine room, right? Man City, Rodri, for me, best player in the league. De Bruyne, and either Bernardo Silva or Kovacic, depending on how they want to play. Right? Arsenal, Partey, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard. Now look at our options in midfield. Difference? They'll go and pay proper money to bring in proper midfielders that are men. First of all, that are men, not kids, men that can control a game, dominate, tackle, pass, get forward, get back, aren't overawed by occasions, right? Proper footballers that know their function on a pitch. We've got a fan base that look at Bentancur and go, oh, he's brilliant. I don't think he's ever been brilliant in a Spurs shirt at all. There's a reason Juventus let him go. He's an okay midfielder. He's an okay who any big game passes him by completely. Any big game passes him by.
Pape Sarr, potential world class.
Papa Sarr's another one. Comes in,
Potential
works
world class.
hard, runs around a lot, and people go, brilliant young player. But if you actually take a step back and watch 90 minutes of him, I don't know what he does. Yeah? Højbjerg, we all know. Basuma, I don't know. This is the difference. I'm not saying, Dan, still, I'm not saying you've got to buy £100 million Declan Rice. I'm not. But
No.
there are midfielders out there that we need to go and get that are proper. Look at Villa. Look at John McGinn and Douglas Luiz. I'm not saying they are amazing, but you know what you're getting from them every single game. They are men. They tackle, they work hard, they get back, they get forward, they drive with the ball, they'll fight till the end. We don't have that.
We don't have none of that. Right, just need to say quick hello to Chang Ching Sung. Thank you for the super chat, mate. It's appreciated. Kate and Jimbo Raid from Just a Girl Who Loves Spurs. Thank you, appreciated. With everything you're saying there, you're both 100% right. When it comes down to the crunch, the actual crunch, we all know you don't have to go and spend 100 million on a player. If you want to get the best of the best, yes, you do. But you've got to spend some serious money to bring the men in. Not just the boys that can get good, not just the ones with potential. Ange has already basically admitted that we're going to go for quantity, not quality. So how can anyone have any faith in this? That
Exactly.
Van der Ven, that was luck. Vicario, that was luck. Because they weren't the two we was looking at. They weren't the two first ones we wanted. And yeah, we landed on our feet with both of them. But if we want to actually start being serious and taken serious, we got to buy some serious players.
Dan, can I say another big problem I've got right now with the direction of the club? Right,
go for it, mate.
If there is a plan, we are going to find out this summer. I don't think there is, but if there is a plan, then in my head, the plan would look like a piece of paper. On one side, players we've got to get rid of, players that I want to bring in. And maybe there's a plan A, a plan B. Of if we can't get Zubimendi, go and get the guy from Atalanta, the number 6 from Atalanta. I forgot his name, right? Okay. And you do that for every position you want to fill. My problem is this. If this is the plan, and this is what's going to be the winning formula. We're now hearing, if we don't get Champions League, this is the plan.
Yeah.
But hold on, but that's the winning formula. That one.
Yeah.
So you're telling me if we don't get Champions League, there's a different plan. Well, and they both win. Then surely just go for the one that's the best. No,
well.
And
if it was,
I don't get this.
This
is what they're saying. They're saying if we get Champions League, we've got a certain set of targets. If we don't get Champions League, we've got a different set of targets. Surely one set is better than the other. You're not going to tell me that they're both exactly the same. Because if they were, then why change it?
Mm.
Look, we've had the chance to get
it.
We've had the chance. He's had chances where if he would have adapted certain points in certain games, we could have actually got points out of them, I think.
I agree.
But again, we're just back down to the same point again. He doesn't. He changes nothing. And question for you two.
Yeah, but Dan, you asked a question about, do you trust this manager spending money on the transfers? And I'm saying, but there's two plans depending on where we end up this season. But why not just have that one plan? Like,
Stel, you've said it a million times.
But it doesn't work like that.
You've said it a million times. I've said it. We know how this transfer window goes. Spurs will sign 7 footballers. We will sign
Every
7
time.
footballers. We will sign 2 that go straight in the first 11, and we go
7, 8,
good
9.
signings. Good signings, those 2. Van der Ven-esque, right? We will sign 2 where half the fan base go, yeah, they're okay.
He looks okay.
And the other half go, oh my God, they're generational talents. We will sign 2 or 3 after that are young, up and coming, are brilliant on Football Manager, right? Brilliant on FIFA, and that everyone pretends that if we just give them another 5 years to progress, they're going to be the world's best. That's what we'll do. Then this time next year, we'll be sitting here with more deadwood that needs to go because we've not bought quality. This club, for me, people can sit and talk about we need 2 defenders, 3 midfielders, 3 forwards. I would be over the moon and think we're on the right direction, right, Dan? If in the summer, Spurs went and spent, let's say Spurs went and spent 200 million, yeah? 200 million. And it was on 4 players. 4. But 4 quality players that come straight into the first team that you go, wow, look how much better we are. Then I can turn around and say to myself, okay, we haven't got a backup here, backup there, backup whatever. But you know what? This is a great
You're
start.
in the right direction.
You're in the right direction. Then the next window, you go and get another one. Then next summer, you go and get another 3 or 4. But we will go, and Stel talks about this every week. I hear him say this. We will go and get 7. Then another 7. Then another 7. So what happens is the squad over the space of 3 or 4 years ends up being 20 players in, 20 players out, 20 players in, 20 players out, rather than going and saying, right, I'm going to buy a top-class central midfielder, a top-class striker. I'm going to buy another and 2 top-class wingers. If I said this to you guys, this window we're going to buy a top-class number 6 and a brand new forward line 3. Yeah, and that's it for 200 million. But they're all going to be 50, 60 million pound players that are brilliant. You take that, wouldn't you, instead of 7?
All day long. I've been asked this question a few times. One of them was on Stel's show where we got asked, what have they got to do, i.e. Tottenham, for you to take it seriously? And basically what you just said there was exactly what I said. Until I see at least 3 players get bought who walk into that team, and then the next transfer window, another player or 2 that walks into that team, and there's now a bit of a fight for a place in the team, I can't take it serious. Because it's the same as what Stel says all the time.
But
and
see, Dan, the thing is,
we go and get 1 or 2 players, and then the rest of them, there's hardly any point in even getting them. They're just a bloody number, nothing more, nothing less.
Dan, the thing is though, with our fan base, there's this obsession with a moral victory that somehow we are more ethically advanced and more morally better than the rest, and they'll say things like this.
I couldn't care about morals, mate.
But spending, well, it doesn't make sense what they say though. But we've spent big. It doesn't work. So yeah, but Ndombele, Davinson Sanchez, and Lo Celso, yeah, we spent big, but we spent big badly. Spending big isn't the problem. It's spending big badly. Not one of those players, Ndombele, Davinson Sanchez, and Lo Celso, did we know. Right? They're not names that we heard. When Arsenal signed Declan Rice, yeah, we know that is. When Man City signed Haaland, yeah, we know that is. When Man City signed Jack Grealish, yeah, we know who that is. When big clubs spend players, big money on players that we know, when do Spurs do that? And then you hear, oh, but look at Man United, look at the money. Yeah, but they've also spent it badly. They've done what Tottenham do, which is why that's why
and still won more than us.
We're the
and still won more than us in that time. Man United have made 2 FA Cup finals in 2 years.
Just
with this shocking Man United team.
We have been the fourth biggest spenders.
Shit to shit. We're both shit.
Only Man U, Arsenal and Chelsea have actually spent more money than Spurs over the past 5 or 6 years. It's just we buy crap every time.
Do you know
How
what?
can you go and spend 65 million on Richarlison, 47.5 or whatever on Johnson, and tell me there's nothing better there?
Do you know what?
They signed 50 million for Aubameyang, right? For Aubameyang, we spent
was top in
65 on
Europe at the time.
Richarlison. Oh, but look what happens when you spend big. No, it's spending big badly. We misspend the big money. It's not spending big that's the problem. And this is,
Do you know the funny thing is, though?
We're good. We're good club morally.
Let me ask this. Arsenal de Gru, you're not winning the league. Said it all year. Man City winning the league. Anyway, these Arsenal fans, I've got Arsenal fans messaging me on, you probably see the messages still on YouTube going, oh, Arsenal drove Savva off YouTube. Yeah, that's what happened. Look over the years, right, the last few years, we've been linked to certain players and our fan base has turned their nose up at them. Now, I know we don't decide as fans who we sign, but it cracks me up. I remember in the summer, Kovacic signed for Man City and our fans going, oh, he wouldn't get in above Basuma or Bentancur.
Oh.
But there's Pep Guardiola going, yeah, come on, Kovacic, come and play for us, the treble winners. That's fine. You come play for us. I remember we were linked with Nathan Ake. Remember we were linked with Nathan Ake and people going, oh, he's rubbish. Nathan Ake is a superb defender, right? Like, we do this all the time. But then we sign average and we hype them up unbelievably. Like, the Werner love. I'm not going to name names, but I saw someone yesterday put out a post that said, I would be over the moon if Spurs signed Timo Werner. He's been our best player since January. And you know when you sit there and you think, you, sir, have the club you deserve. You, sir, if you want to sign Timo Werner, you think he's been the best player we've had. Look, we've got to stop being sensible. We've got to go and get, like, I would go to Man City. I would look at Man City's squad and say, right, who is not getting as many minutes as they would like? Do you know what I mean? Like, when they've got players that aren't getting as many minutes, who is not getting as many minutes as you like, but as one thing, so has got that winning mentality? Cool, let's bring them to Spurs. I would go to Liverpool, same thing. I would look at maybe a couple of aging players that are at some of the bigger clubs across Europe that can come in and give us a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of that kind of solidity, that mentality. You know, I just don't get it.
Savva, every signing is may become good, maybe be good. There's always a little doubt with the signings, and some of them will land, some won't. It's never an established Klinsmann, Van der Vaart. We don't do that. We did it once or twice. And this comment sums up what I said. Well done, Luke Maggs. Virgil van Dijk, 75 million. Maguire, 80 million. Spending big badly, spending big well. That's what it comes down to. We spend big badly because our scouts or our recruitment team or whatever it may be, just poor.
That's really poor. You're on mute, Dan. You're on mute.
The thing I don't even get with this is that surely even Daniel Levy could have sat there and thought, hang on a minute, Richarlison, 65. I can do better than that. Surely even he could have seen that there's better options than Richarlison for 65 million. Obviously not. We bought him, but some of it's like the way we play at the moment and a lot of other things. You haven't got to be a qualified whatever to work some of it out. Some of it is
Dan,
just
you know the thing with Richarlison?
Sense.
The thing with Richarlison, right? In the summer, somebody from Turkey or Saudi will come in and offer 35, 40, 50 million for him. And we'll have fans in our fan base that say, oh no, he's a good option. And mind blown. We have it with Emerson Royale. Mind blown. Like, honestly, there is hardly anyone in this squad I wouldn't sell if the money came in. There is hardly anybody that I think is... Look, let's be fair. People think I'm crazy, and I'm not likening us to Arsenal, Man City. By the way, this is an Arsenal that haven't won anything yet, by the way. But if that's who you want to compete with, if that's where you want to get to, Dan, you have to be ruthless and look at your club and go, how many of them can compete? Right?
True.
Not all these nonsense 1 to 11s where people put in 7 or 8 Spurs players. Let's be brutally honest. Not one Spurs player gets into Man City. Not one Spurs player gets in that Man City 11. Right?
I can't see it.
I'd be shocked if any of ours get on their bench. Right? That's what you're up against. And Arsenal, who I don't think are quite there yet. They could prove me wrong and win the league. I don't think they will. Arsenal did that by Declan Rice. right? Odegaard coming in from Real Madrid, right? Declan Rice coming in as like the West Ham captain, the England's #1 pick central midfielder.
Trophy winner.
That's the trophy. That's the level you've got to go at. We don't do it. West Ham, Liverpool went out in the window. Bought Alexis McAllister, who just won a World Cup, right, for 20 odd million. Right? You look at
how they got him for that. I don't know. Well done.
It's madness. It's madness just how bad we are in the market. But and listen, I do have a go at fans for this. We have got to stop championing crap footballers. We've got to stop doing it. The emotional
we do
attachment.
it all the time.
We did it with Lamella for 9 years. Sissoko, Winks.
You just said the word emotional. That's one I'm going to go to after this question quickly. Tony, right, question to the panel. Why would any top-class player with a brain sign for Spurs? Agents warn their agents to do business with the board. See you next Tuesday. It's a fair point. Of the way the club is run and the way everything goes and the way we just never look like we're going to compete in any means or manner. I mean, we go out the first 2 cups in the first round. City, forgivable. But why would a top player come to us? But for me, money talks.
I'll tell you why, Dan, right? Have a plan, stick to it. Don't say 1 minute, I'll just do it, mate. Next minute, I need to rebuild the squad, mate, right? Have a plan. Stick to it, like what Poch did. Get us to a place where we're a regular top 4 club, where we're knocking on the door of a title charge, getting to semi-finals. Get us to there, and then at that point, you can attract those players because now you've got a proposition on the table. Actually, they're going in the right direction. Something might happen here. Exactly what Arteta did with Arsenal. That's how he got Declan Rice. If he tried to sign a Declan Rice 3-4 years ago, that weren't happening. Now he can. This summer, you watch the players Arsenal bring in. I bet you they signed 2 or 3 top, and Isak. 2 or 3 like that because they can win a league, because they can challenge for the Champions League. So build your club up to a point where you can sell it. Chelsea weren't signing top-class quality players, but they got to a place under Abramovich where, no, I'm here to win stuff. And they got to that place. Now they're signing all the top players. That's how you do it. But our problem is we get there. Like Sam kind of mentioned earlier, we get there. We don't want to buy Van Dijk for 75 million. We don't want to buy Alisson for 75 million. We don't want to buy Declan for 100 million. We get there, we say, right, go get me Loriente. Go get me Sergio Aurier. Go get me Nkudu and Dudu and Poo. Well, hold on. What was the point of getting here then?
Yeah. But equally, somebody just made a good point, and Arsenal fans made a good point. When I'm talking about top players, I'm not talking about going to buy Erling Haaland. We know he's not signing for Tottenham Hotspur. But I'm talking the next level from where we are now.
Yeah,
Trossard. We wouldn't put £22 million down on the table for Leandro Trossard, who I think's got, is it 18 goals in all competitions this year for Arsenal? And arguably, when I watch them, I think he's one of their better players.
He's got more combined than all our attackers if you take Son out. So if you add Kulu, Werner, Johnson, Richarlison together, I believe he's got more than them combined.
Right. So, but this is my point. When I'm talking about player Alexis McAllister from Brighton, Leandro Trossard from Brighton. Yeah. Declan Rice was from West Ham. None of the players we've mentioned have played for. I'm not talking about going to AC Milan and taking Rafa Leao for 90 million. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about going to get a player that everyone in world football wants. But there's so many good footballers out there. If people watch leagues, if they scout them,
right.
Look at Leverkusen. Leverkusen in the window signed Grimaldo and Frimpong. And I believe one was free and the other one was 12 million euros or something.
Leverkusen, very small club.
Something like 50 goal contributions between them. And you think that's good scouting. Inter Milan, look at their scouting. Right?
Always get the ones for free.
They signed Granit Xhaka. They signed Granit Xhaka. Arsenal fans wanted him out. They wanted him out.
He works. He works for what they've got, right?
Yep.
Boniface, where'd they get him from? But they make it work. We go and get Brennan Johnson, and then we have a fan base that sits there and goes, he's only young. He'll get better. One of the worst wingers I think I've seen. I
Be
think he's
patient.
be patient, yeah. Be patient.
Right.
And
One thing I
sorry,
wanna
just
go
quickly,
to-
just quickly before you
Go
go
on,
there,
mate.
Dad, really
That's
quickly.
fine. That's fine.
Kulusevski, when are we allowed the conversation as to how shit Kulusevski is? He's been here 2.5 years now, and other than that first 3 or 4 months when he first joined,
He's got to go.
he is as painfully average as I've seen.
As it comes.
Did you see his stats yesterday? No
Yeah,
goals,
shocking.
no assists, no chances created, no successful
dribbles.
dribbles, no crosses that met its target. It was literally a whole row of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0,
nothing.
0.
Now,
It's embarrassing, mate.
I've always been one who stuck up for Kulusevski to an extent because I still feel we play him in the wrong position. But the way he's played consistently now for the
Dan,
past
he played
what,
attacking mid
18
against
months.
Chelsea. Look how that worked out.
Yeah,
He played
I
attacking mid
know.
against Chelsea.
And I'm saying he's got to go. It's another one. But I think you said a perfect word there, Savva, and you've said it as well enough times, Stel, and a few of the others, emotional. One thing we definitely are on the Spurs Society is very emotional with our players. Now, the player I bring up, some people seem to think I've got a grudge against him. I haven't. Son, I think he's been excellent for us. I just don't believe he's ever been a world-class player.
Mhm.
I also now think Son is at a time where he's now on his way down. He relies on his pace as a player. He needs his pace because without his pace, Son really is nothing. Brilliant shooter, whatever, and that, but his pace is his main bit, what helps to the rest of his game. If we was to get, say, a 60, 70 million bid from Saudi Arabia out of nowhere,
Yes.
now I'm not saying go out our way to sell him and look to sell him, but should we consider selling that?
So,
Yes.
can I go
Or are
first?
we just going to be too emotional?
Yeah, go on. Go on.
Dan, right, all I want to say about Son is this, and I've got nothing else to say. I'll let Savva and you guys discuss. Before we take any money for Son, before we sell him, because he does need replacing at some point, whether it's now, next year, the year after, he does need replacing, right? At some point for sure. I'm not going to disagree. I want to see us get rid of Kulu, Richie, Werner, Johnson, Veliz, Solomon before we get rid of Son, on the basis that
I can agree.
he's the only one that is capable of getting goals in a season. Maybe not 25, 30, but at least 15 to 20 he can. Get rid of the others first, and then, Son, now's the time. So that's all I'll say on it. And then feel free to
Do you know what? I don't disagree. I think we've got two different things here. In a perfect world, what Tottenham Hotspur would have done is a couple of years ago, as Son started to creep into his 30s, top clubs start to think about moving them on and what's the succession plan. Can we bring in somebody who's going to replace Son? They come in for the first year as an understudy to Son. They watch Son in training. They learn how we play. Then you can let Son go because you know you've got this guy. Tottenham don't do that. Tottenham don't do that at all. We're reactionary. Then you've got the second point where Stell is spot on. Son for me should be leaving the club. But Stell is right. You've got Kulu, Werner, Solomon, Hill. But again,
Johnson, Veliz, Richarlison.
But again, and that's not me saying that Son's not a good footballer, Dan. Son's been brilliant for Tottenham Hotspur. Whatever, I don't care about the
been
whole
excellent.
world
He's been
class.
excellent.
Who cares about all that? Son's been a brilliant player for Spurs for the last decade or 9 years, whatever he's been here. But naturally, with most players when they get to the other side of 30, especially players that are very well renowned for their pace. This isn't Sheringham. This isn't a Sheringham or a Zlatan.
It's happening with Salah.
People who can go
surely.
People who can go to 40 years of age because they don't rely on their pace, like a Luka Modric. This is a player who relies on his pace. He's slowly but surely declining. And that's not me being negative about him. It's natural. He's slowly but surely declining. And ideally, you'd sell him. But Stell is spot on. I don't trust, and this is a separate issue, I don't trust Spurs to replace. That's not me saying we shouldn't sell him, but I don't trust that Spurs have had anyone that goes out and says, you know what, we've been watching this kid for 2 years, or we've been watching this bloke for 2 years. That's who we want. Because we buy Brennan Johnsons.
Exactly. And that is the only reason I wouldn't sell him. We need other players that we need to get rid of first. But if I knew that 60, 70 million was going to go towards one solid striker for us, I could accept that. But I just think there's a lot of fans out there that even if he gets to 35, still wouldn't want to let him go because they're too attached to him, basically. And I've seen this happen with a few Spurs players. We hang on to them well too long, but so do the fans. Obviously, Werner's got to go first. Solomon, I mean, you don't even know he's at the bloody squad. Kulusevski, whatever, and all that's got to go first. I get all that. And you'd rather they disappear before Son disappears.
But the problem is, Dan, most of the players that Stel mentioned that need to go, as I said, I completely agree with him. But the problem is, Stel, nearly all of them have just signed. Right? If you look,
I know.
Kulu signed full-time last year. Right? If they sign Werner, that'll be this year. Solomon signed last year. Richarlison's only been here 2 years. It's like, what are we doing? How can my manager turn around and talk to me about title challenges next year when you've got that front three for Tottenham Hotspur?
Savva, we got rid of a load of deadwood and we replaced it with a new fresh batch
Load
of
of
deadwood.
That's
What we've done.
Right. Just a quick one
I
here. Donna Cullen, thank you. Much appreciated. Mr. Savva, I tried, but I could never find someone like you. She obviously still likes you. I mean, there's a positive side.
Thanks for the super chat.
But
Cheers.
you're right exactly on what you're saying. We just seem to go and replace dead wood with basic dead fucking wood.
Dan, who's the best
Is there
player
a
at
point
Nottingham?
to any of this?
Who's the best player at Nottingham Forest?
Gibbs
I
White.
can't remember it.
Morgan Gibbs White. So who do we go and buy for 50 million?
Yeah, Brendan Johnson. That's right.
Right, that's Spurs in a nutshell. That right there, that signing on the last day of the window. I don't know if anyone watched me live. I think I was doing a show with Sean and Henry, transfer show. That right there is where I turned around and said, done. Like, done. That for me summed up the window. Van der Ven, yeah, good. I liked him. Maddison, good. I liked him. And then after that, it was Solomon, Valise, Phillips, Johnson, and you start going, oh, fuck. Like, we sold Harry Kane for, 100 million euros and then spent 50 million on Johnson and another 25 whatever million on Kulusevski. Had no one scouted anything better than those two footballers to come in.
Exactly that.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, surely. Right, just another one. Thanks for the super chat, Donna. Mr. Savva, don't erase my name from your heart. I'm sure he won't, and thanks for the super chat. But you'd think that the managers would have some sort of say in this with players they wanted. Did he really come in, Ange, and say that he wants Kulusevski and he wants Johnson? Because by his words, no player comes in without him wanting it.
Yeah, Dan, there's a contradiction here. On the one hand, the manager is saying, I put the signings on me. It's down to me. I'm responsible. I wouldn't have taken the job unless I had the final say. He says all those things, but yet we see the same pattern that we've seen under many different managers. Spend a big load of money on 7, 8, 9 players. Spend a load of big money under 7, 8, 9 players. We saw it under Redknapp when we sold Gareth Bale. We saw it under Jose Mourinho. We saw it under Conte. Now we've seen it under Ange when we sold Harry Kane. Every manager that comes in, we sign 7, 8, 9 players. It's the same pattern, but yet the manager's different, the football director's different, the chairman's the same. So I feel there's a contradiction. I've got a manager saying to me, I have the final say, I'm in charge, it's on me. But then I'm watching the transfer window look exactly like every other transfer window under every other manager. So something says to me that there's a bit of both going on here. Some of the signings, yeah, I think it's the manager. Some are club signings. You try and pick which are which. If the pattern was different, if we suddenly signed just 4 players for the next 3 years, I'd say, hold on, this is on Ange, 100%, because the pattern is different to the last 16 years. But because the pattern's the same, but the manager's different, it looks like a Spurs window, not the manager's window, but the manager is saying different. So I don't know.
But do you know what, Stel? Do you know why they can get away with it? They can get away with this, right? Because we are so starved of success at this football club. We are so starved of, and here's a line I use for work. What's the difference between good and great? right? We are so starved of that comparison that when we sign these players, as a fan base, most fan bases would be going, Werner, Johnson. We have fans going, good signing that. Good signing that. And you think
Werner
to yourself,
especially.
Even then, you watch when Bergvall signed, the number of comments I saw, this boy, this guy, I'm telling you, he's messy. He's the Swedish. And you're like,
I really like the look of him. I really like the look of this player.
Yeah. Oh, I've watched him play 25 times in the Swedish league. And this is why. This is, I think, where the difference where I can't talk for you two. I talk for myself, right? Is where, as a fan, I look at it and go, right, do I want my club to be better? Yes. Right? That's not negative. That's a positive. People call me negative, but I think that's a positive. I want my club to be better.
Because you want them to be better.
What do I need? What do Tottenham need to be better? Better footballers.
Better players.
So why on earth am I going to celebrate signing mediocre players? There was a show last year. Is Bentancur world class? No. Next show. Move on. Do you know what I mean? This is the problem. Is Papa Sarr generational? No, he's not. He's okay. He runs around a lot. But he's done nothing that suggests. But what we do is we see Adogi, good player. He's a good player, still young, makes a shed load of mistakes, which I would expect at that age. But straight away, best left back in the league. No, stop. Stop doing this. You've got people like Nathan Ake and Vardy who play at left back. You've got people like Andy Robertson that play at left back. Ben Chilwell plays it. Let's stop doing this thing where every player is hyped to there, but then when the team doesn't do well, it's not the players, it's not the manager. Then where is it? All the people telling me these players were great, Dan, then telling me that Ange should be winning a league title, now saying, but fifth in his first year is good. Well, hang on. You're telling me the players are brilliant and getting to every other team in the league. The manager's brilliant and not a fault for anything. Then why aren't we winning a title?
Because we haven't got the players to do it. Now, I'll go to something you said in a second there, and just another super chat off Donna Cullen. Thank you, much appreciated. Mr. Savva, you now don't even talk to me. Why? She likes you. Now, when it comes to the players you're saying now, I do agree on most of them. I mean, Bentancur, I think he's a very good player, but he's definitely not up there with the standards that he gets put on. And I think ever since his ACL injury, I think that's damaged him bad. And I think the fact that we're playing him ahead of when we should be playing him has definitely done the man no favours. Udogie, however, I think has been very good this season up until his last 5 games, where it all just seemed to fall to pieces. Yeah, made the mistakes of a young one, as you expect. But he was definitely probably one of the better left-backs in the league at the time. But then in the last 5 games, I don't know. He seemed to fall to pieces where someone had beaten him and he'd just jog after it.
I think this is where we look differently. Udogie, for me, defensively, that's not his game for me. So when we're talking about a left back,
defense is his weaker point.
Right. And again, that for me is where Ange is getting it wrong, playing him inverted. For me, can you imagine how devastating
he didn't play like that in Italy?
Flying down the left wing.
Yeah, that's what he did out in Italy. They played him as an out-and-out wing-back overlapping.
I agree. I agree. And this is what Stel said about the inversion. Constant inversion, everything.
This is where I personally don't think Ange is ever going to succeed in the Premiership. We might get a trophy. Who knows, yeah? Anything's possible on a cup day. But with this inverted wing-back style and the way he seems to not have a clue how to defend, I don't really think it matters really that much who we buy in the summer, because his style of play and the way he's got no adaptation, I think the Premiership's just too good for Ange's style as a whole. So I can't even really see him succeeding. Call it negative, but he's, no matter who he's got in that defence, he's still going to concede 35, 45 goals a season. But just by the way they play. And you're not going to win nothing with that.
What you hear a lot, right? I agree with you completely, by the way.
Savva, can I read something out quickly?
Yeah.
Right. I'm not digging him out. I'm just stating a fact. Harry Scarf yesterday tweeted this. Nothing will make me more happy than signing Timo Werner this summer and seen people moan on here for days and days about it. He's been one of our best, if not our best player this year. We will miss him as an option to come off the bench until the end of the season. 252 likes.
Look, look.
You're allowed opinions. You're allowed.
Yeah,
you're allowed
look, Harry's
views,
a young
right?
lad, right? Harry's a young lad, and
But
I'm not going to go in
what,
on him.
What? No,
But
I'm not going in. I'm just saying. But
no.
listen, that's one example I could give you. Alistair Gold put out a tweet. The data says buy him. I wouldn't be against it. I'm up for it. There's many. The point is, how are we as a Spurs fan base at a point where we're talking about league titles? We're talking about winning trophies. We're talking about amazing football. And in the same discussion, we're saying, yeah, get Timo. How have we got to this place? How have we got here?
I think, look, for me, it's not about one person. I think that the bigger issue for me is I switch on YouTube channels and see people praising how we played yesterday. I switch on grown men and women talking about Spurs, and all of it, you're sitting there going, you do not believe a word you're saying. You do not believe a word you're saying because you know it's not true. But to go back to your point, Dan, right? To go back to your point. I can't remember what it was now. You're talking about Adogi, right? Adogi, right? Left back. For me, the worrying thing... Yeah. The worrying thing about this is when people talk about Spurs or style of play, I always hear us likened to Man City, but without their players. This only leads me to one thing. People haven't watched Man City play football. Man City don't play anything like us. Man City's line, is it high? Yeah. But is it suicidal? No. Right? Man City's possession with the ball, is it all in their own half? No. It's all in the other team's half, but with players ready to protect the back four, right? They're fullbacks. They can invert. They can go out wide. You watch Vardy and Walker. They'll both cut in, but they'll also both go out wide and overlap. They're wingers. They don't just hug the touchline. They'll hug the touchline 1 minute. They're inside the next. We do not play anything like Man City. And I think that is something that people need to get out of their minds, that just because Ange plays with a high line is that we play like Manchester City. We don't.
Play nothing like
It's
them.
embarrassing when fans say that. And this is a team that is 31 unbeaten in all competitions. Right? 31 unbeaten in all competitions and one defeat
We play
in
like Bristol
42
City.
games. Right.
Savile, we play like Bristol City.
But my point with that still, that's where we've got fans at. We've got fans at the point where they're talking about a couple of tweaks and we're like, City, get out of here. A couple of tweaks. You mean buying Man City's first 11 and we'll be like Man City? This manager, I wanted him at the beginning of the season. I can't sit here and lie and say I didn't, right? But he hasn't adapted. He hasn't adapted. Nope. And that, for me, is the criminal thing in all of this. Isn't that he's got things wrong. We all get things wrong. We're human. But it's that he sees it wrong, does it again, and then you got fans going, nah, don't adapt the style. It's who we are. What? Conceding 4 free goals every game. That's who we are. Brilliant.
That is what is annoying about this. And quick question here from Tony for the panel. Do you think we could do a better job with one inverted fullback? Right, I'll answer that one first. I don't like this inverted fullback crap from day. I mean, when you can blatantly see what you could actually have out of Porro as an overlapping wing back, or even stick him as a winger, and he's the only one who can cross the bloody ball, I don't even get why Ange wants to do this. But I think it could work that little bit better if we only had one doing it at one time. So say Porro goes forward and inverts, then you have Udogie and the other two make it a back three. Or Udogie goes forward, then you put them, then you have Porro come in as a back three. I think it could work better, but I still don't see no success off of it. You two?
I'll let Stel go.
Yeah, of course it can work better because you're not exposing the defence to having just 2 left at the back. You're ineffectively going to a back 3, which is what Man City do. And I don't I think it's less risk. And also it means that you're not congesting the number 10 role with players that can't play the number 10 role. Fullbacks aren't designed to play number 10 roles.
No.
Instead, give Maddison that freedom, or Lo Celso, whoever you're going to play in that pocket. So, yeah, would we be better? Will it change our fortunes? Not to the level that we need, no. But would it make us better than what you're seeing now? Yeah, it would. But, yeah.
Well, completely agree. At the end of the day, I make you right, Dan. I think if you're going to invert, you can invert one of them. You can't invert both, because one thing as well, if you watch Porro and Udogie give the ball away a lot. Yeah, they're very good footballers, but they give the ball away a lot when they're running into midfield with a ball. Because you know why? They're grown men who haven't played that way their entire careers. Then they're fullbacks, no offense, they're fullbacks because their main game isn't keeping the ball. Do you know what I mean? Fullbacks by default win the ball, and back in the day they used to just give it to someone else. Now they win the ball and maybe a one.
It's more of a wing-back job all the time now, isn't it? Basically.
Exactly. But what we do is we've got them both pushing in midfield with the three centre mids, with Maddison. It's like there's so much going on in that middle third that's why the one ball over the top, you've got no one down the channels. Romero and Van der Ven then have to make a decision. Jesus, do we track the wingers or do we cover them? It's a shambles. You can buy whoever you want for that system. I've never seen it work. I don't know if Stel can or you, Dan, can think of a manager that's ever played this system and you've seen it work successfully.
No.
Pep was trying it for a bit and realised it wasn't working. And then he changed it straight away. Right, just a quick point got to make on there. Hamid, we have comments on there, mate. Just leave it out. As all we're doing is chatting about football. You got that problem with sticking someone. There you go. Time out for 5 minutes. If you want to come back on and talk, you're more than welcome. But lay off, yeah? We're only talking about football. No need for you to start having bitchy little digs. Sorry, you two.
That's all right.
The fact is, I just don't see where this can go, because I just don't think this style can work in the Premiership as a whole.
Well, it can. The style can work, Dan. It can work, but you have to go and sign world-class players. But our manager said we're not signing those. So it can't work on the basis that we're not going to have a transfer policy to match what's required to pull off this tactic. This tactic is so high risk. It's so high octane. It's got to be bang on point, which means you need players on that level that can deliver that. But he's saying we're not signing those players. So therefore, the tactic can work, but it's not going to work with the players we're going to bring in. Fact.
I mean,
that's what you see now. These are the players that have been brought in. Look at what you see.
Even with a team of world-class players, I still don't see this tactic as succeeding for winning a league. I just think you still concede.
But we're not. But you're talking Real Madrid level. We're not going to sign Real Madrid players. We're not.
I struggle.
You're talking Madrid or City. You're talking top players.
Yeah, we're not doing it. We're not doing it.
Either way, you're just going to concede too many goals with this way. But if he wants to make it work this way, and then you're right on this one, if it could work, we're not going to get the players to do it. It's never going to happen. So are we at a point now where we're just letting Ange dig his grave?
But
Dan,
just you wait, Dan. Just you wait next season, okay? Just you wait next season when we have to play midweek. Just you wait and see how this goes.
It's only been one game a week, and they're saying they're knackered.
And we're doing Thursday, Sunday. Travel to Kazakhstan, come back to play in London. Travel to Bulgaria, then go away to Anfield. Travel to wherever, go back to London. You wait and see what's going to happen.
But we're talking about a tactic.
We don't need three players. We're there.
From that Chelsea game, and I always look at that as the barometer of this season, because from that Chelsea game, not last week, after the 10th game of the season, this tactic has been as successful in the league as Sean Dyche's tactics. Make of that what you will. He's got as many points as Sean Dyche in those 25 games and conceded more goals than Sean Dyche. Let that sink in. That's where we're at for the last 25 games. Let that sink in. If we want to talk about realistically about how well we've done and how far forward and the players are learning this system, now tell me how many of them Everton players you taking. Go on. Who are you taking from Everton? Branthwaite, maybe?
Yeah.
You're not taking any of their fullbacks.
I like one of their defenders. I can't remember his name. I'm terrible.
Is it the centre half, Jared Branthwaite?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. So him, I'm not taking any of their centre mids. I'm not taking Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm not. Do you know what I mean? Right now, there's the problem. 34 points. Him and Dyche have both taken in the same time frame, whilst they don't concede goals the way we do. So if you want to ask, does this tactic work? Nah, this tactic doesn't work. You could put Rodri in our midfield. The worrying thing, Kuva made a brilliant point about 45 minutes ago in the chat, right? This was so spot on, it was unreal. He said, if the start we had to the season had been how we're ending the season, and vice versa, you'd be you'd be sitting here going, okay, we're learning. We're getting better. We're playing well. We're adapting.
Whereas we're actually going backwards.
We're actually going backwards on every single stat across the board. Results, defending, conceding. The players look as less interested than I've seen for a while. And I'm not saying he's going. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, Ange out, right? But this has got all the hallmarks, these defeats, don't know what you guys think, of when it is at the end of a manager's tenure rather than after the first 9 months. These defeats have got the hallmarks of when AVB was sacked for getting a tonking against Liverpool. Imagine that result yesterday. Imagine the last 4 games have been Nuno in charge. Right? Imagine that had been Conte in charge, Nuno in charge. They're getting loads of shit. So why does Ange get away with so much? I don't get it. I just don't get what we're doing.
The weird thing with Ange is he's just exactly, in a lot of ways, the same as Conte, but just in the total opposite way. Mm-hmm. Everyone was complaining about the out-and-out defending through Conte. For me, this team would be perfect for how Conte plays football, and it would look bloody good. Because counter-attacking football isn't fossil football when you've got the right players. It can be very fast and good to watch. But either way, Conte is set on his way. Ange plays it up the total other end of the pitch and he's totally set in his way. The difference between them two now is something I said on Stel Show last night. It's like with me and other people that do shows. I sit here and just say it blunt and fucking blatant and say it how I see it because I haven't got the best way with words. So I just say it, like it or lump it. And there's people who like it, but there's also a lot of people who don't like it. Like Conte. Whereas Ange go and do it in a way, like other people who do channels and that, who will say it in such a user-friendly way, but he's saying exactly the same stuff, that people will take it hands-on with a smile. That is the difference between these two managers in that aspect. Ange can say things and get away with it because he adds mate on the end of it.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's who we are, mate. Mate. I watch, I'll be honest, I must be one of the very few. I watch his press conferences and I think, what are you talking about? I literally think, I don't know what you're saying. You've contradicted yourself from last week's press conference to the week before, You're getting really shirty with everyone because all of a sudden you're being found out. I don't know, man. Listen,
you're the problem, Savva. You're the problem.
Yeah,
you're the problem.
I've seen this. Somebody put in the chat earlier, right? We've seen this film before. I can tell you how this is going to end. When it ends like that, we'll still be told we're negative. This is how it's always going to go. Unless they go out this summer and buy 3 or 4 top footballers, which they won't, nothing is going to change. And then next year, when we've got European football as well to balance, right? I think next year, if we are going to have European football, I think we're going to finish 5th, 6th, 7th again. Won't have made any headwind because next year, Man United are going to change it up. Chelsea have done the opposite to us. If you watch Chelsea, they've started terribly, but now Chelsea have
slowly building up.
They've lost 2 in 16, Chelsea. 2-16. And yet we mock them. We're mocking them. They've got 14 first-team injuries. 2-16. Right? They're going that way. Yeah, Newcastle are going that way. Man United are going that way. And we're going like this. But what will happen, Dan? We'll beat Burnley next week at home. And everything will be, there you go, it works. That's Ange.
Everything will be cushy again.
See
I think Stel makes the best point, one of the best points that I saw in here, and I mentioned it before he came on here, of the goal scorers we've got, when you've shown it enough times now, of how the ones we have got that are meant to be goal scorers,
I'll bring it up.
they only score against the poor clubs. It's only the little club. I mean, scoring hasn't even been that much of a problem. It's scoring in the right games.
Yeah.
I mean, we've scored 69 this season. We scored 70 last season. So chances are we'll score more than we did last season. But again, we've conceded 58 and last season conceded 63. But it's in the main games that really matter that we can't seem to score, come love nor money.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Look, I don't. You can score as many goals as you want. If you're conceding over 60 goals a season, it matters not one bit. It matters not one bit. Right? As I said, you watch even Chelsea now. Their players have started to understand what Poch wants from them, and you watch how easily they dealt with Spurs the other night. We're all mocking them, Chelsea. We're all mocking how Nicholas Jackson's rubbish and Gallagher's rubbish and Maduiki's rubbish, and they didn't have to do anything special to beat us. That's where we are as a team. But again, Stel and I are completely unpopular in the world of Tottenham Hotspur fan base because we've been saying this for nigh on 15 years, I think now. We've been saying this for so many years. Nothing's changed. Everyone just got a little bit happy. And people say things like this: I choose to look at the positive, or I'm glass half full. None of that matters. It's not reality. None of that matters, Dan. Yeah? The results, the stats, they are speaking for themselves. We are very, very poor and nothing is changing.
It doesn't look like anything is changing. I mean, I'm one that just tries to be realistic, yeah? And if there's something good to get on, I will try and get on that good thing. But at the moment, over the last couple of seasons, if there's nothing good to preach about or get on about, then what are you meant to do? It's just like people expecting respect. Give me something to fucking respect and I'll respect it. Give me something to be positive about. I'll be positive about it. But at the moment, I am seeing nothing that our manager is doing or players to be positive about. There you go, Stel.
Yeah, so we played 20 games against the bottom 10 teams, and you can see lots of goals from Richarlison, Johnson, and Werner, goals and assists. So the colours, like the light green's Richarlison, the blue's Johnson, the red's Werner. Okay, so quite a lot of activity. Then we go to the top 10 games. There's a massive drop-off. Johnson has scored 3 goals in 18 games against the top 10. Richarlison scored 3, Werner 1, and then assists. Richie 1, Johnson 2, Werner 2. Okay, they've missed a couple of these games, but they've also missed a couple of games here. But look at against the bottom teams. Richarlison, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 goals he scored. Johnson 2, Werner 1. Johnson assists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 assists. Their stats aren't too bad at all against the bottom,
which is their level.
Table. And that's been my argument. This is their comfort zone. This is what they're good at. As soon as you're challenged, they've gone completely missing in both games against Arsenal, completely missing in both games against Chelsea, missing against one game against Newcastle, one game against United, one game against West Ham, missing against Brighton, Villa in one game. There's a massive difference.
Do you know?
But when I share this stuff, when I share this to people, oh, you hate Johnson, you just hate Werner. I'm like, no, I'm showing you some facts so we can discuss. And because you're incapable of discussing it, because the facts don't lie and facts don't have emotion, you're getting emotional that you don't have facts to counter it. And that leads you to say that I hate Tottenham, I hate my club. No, I want to talk about the quality of striker, the quality of attacker at Spurs. How good or how average are they? I would argue they're average, and I'm trying to use some evidence to back it up. Tell me where I'm wrong. And their response is, oh, give it time. Be patient. I'm like, that's not an argument. That's not fact. We don't know what's going to happen next year or the year after. You might be right, but right now, you're wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong. Savva, they don't want to hear it. They don't want the argument or the debate.
In the last 5 months, do you know how many teams we've beaten in the top 8?
I've got it here. The last 5 months, I think it's 2.
1.
Villa.
Is that all? Yeah, and that was the 4-0 game, wasn't it?
Villa. In the last, you look in 2022. Sorry, I've just lost 2 years of my life. You look in 2024. It's 2024. You look at all the greens. If you go down our results, all the greens are Fulham. Fulham. The Wolves. Not even Wolves. Sorry, Fulham. God, what am I? Everton. Right. Burnley, Luton, Forest. That's where we've been in this year, this calendar year. That the first 10 games completely blinkered everybody. Absolutely everybody. To the point where people were talking about winning leagues. That is where it's gone absolutely mad. There's no rhyme or reason anymore in this fan base. No rhyme or reason. Villa, the only team that we've beaten in the top 8 for 5 months. So it shows you our level at the moment, on paper, factually, our level is playing the bottom half teams. That's not me making it up. That's not me with an agenda. They're facts.
It's like the other debate I have had non-stop about Johnson on certain WhatsApps and everything else. As always, he's got potential. He's doing well. Well, he scored a goal, this and that. He's got better. Yeah, you see him for 10 minutes in a game and not just 5 minutes in a bloody game now. And that's on a special game he has. Because usually he turns up, 5 minutes, he does a little something, and then he disappears for the game. If we actually want to do something and fans want us to win something or be something, how can you be accepting with players like Brennan Johnson? But they do. Majority.
Do you know what? I just feel the standards across our club are just at a lower point, and we're accepting of that lower point. And it's just you know what Ange said, it's spot on. It's who we are, mate. It's who we are. We're just happy to be part of the conversation and happy to be invited to an occasional party, but we never want to host the party. We never want to be the main event of the party. We just give me an invite so I can come along. And I think, sadly, the majority of the fan base is just, yeah, that's cool. And the owners above everyone else, that's cool. And I don't think the managers think it's cool because they end up getting wound up and doing things they don't do at other clubs and saying things they don't say at other clubs and just snapping and it all goes wrong. I think the managers genuinely want to change it. I do think whatever manager comes in genuinely wants to change it, but either they're not good enough to do it or they're not going to get the backing that allows them to do it. And fans and the owners
to do it, basically.
Let me ask you a question.
You know what? It's just who we are.
With the trajectory we're on, right? Take that for whatever you think it means. Can any of you two really see that we're breaking into that top 4 next season?
Not a.
By the way, I don't think that's success, but from where we are, can anyone see us being higher up the league next season than we are now with the trajectory we're on?
Savva, I said last week, and we had a big debate, and then went on another couple of shows, and everyone disagreed with me. No one agreed with me, and I stick by what I said. I think Pochettino is having a better season at Chelsea than what Ange is having at Spurs. Right, Dan? I think you were on one of those shows, and I said on the basis that he got to a cup final, and I thought he was the better team over 90 minutes, but then was shocking in extra time, and Liverpool won it. I watched his Chelsea team, in my opinion, outplay Man City in the FA Cup semi-final, but they can't finish their dinner. They're awful in front of goal. But the fact he challenged for those trophies where we crashed out of both in round 1 sorry, Poch has outdone us when it comes to trophies. In terms of the league table, I know we don't like stats and that, but if you look at the big chances created, Chelsea have been actually really good this year, but they're awful in front of goal. Has he made mistakes with team selection, rotation? Of course he has. 100% Poch has. But if I look at us, and I look at the fact that we signed 9 players for Ange, Poch had no control over signings when he walked into that club. Todd Bowley's on a mad one. When I look at the two, on paper, you'd say that, do you know what, Chelsea have been a mess. Yeah. But when you actually look at it from talk to me about the league table, talk to me about trophies and cup competitions, talk to me about how teams are ending the season. They are ending far better than what we are. They are building momentum to go into next season. We are in a toxic environment going into next season.
So, still, do you want to?
It's starting to look that way.
I stick by what I said. I think Poch is doing better at his club, and they're just as fucking messy and toxic as us, right? Than what Ange is at our club. I stick by that.
So, still, when I talked to you earlier about the 25 games since the 10, right?
Yeah.
Here's some stats for you. So, if we look at Chelsea over the last 25 games compared to Tottenham, they've got 10 more points in the league than us, right? They've scored more goals than us, scored 10 more goals than us, and conceded 1 less than us. Chelsea in the last 25 games of the season are actually 5th in the table. So again, so they had a terrible start.
I'm watching it.
You watch now. 2 defeats, 16, 1 FA Cup semi-final, 1 cup final. They're in the top 3 for form in the league, right? Now, right? Let's chuck into that. Do you know on average this season, they showed it yesterday, on average this season, Chelsea have had 11 injuries per game on average. 11.
Yeah, they've had worse than us. I've said the same of the season.
Right? For me, next season, I don't think we'll be anywhere near Chelsea next season. I think they'll be above us because Chelsea will go and buy a proper centre forward. They'll have Nkunku fit. Some of these younger players have now had an extra year. Right? This is the problem. We are living off that first 10 games. That first 10 games has kept us up there the entire season.
Yep.
So that's what I said. The other teams are doing that. And if we actually look at the table now, right? If we look at the Premier League table, everyone's talking about, oh my God, Ange, what a great season he's had. Chelsea, they're this terrible team. They're only 6 points behind us. With all those injuries.
Half the reason, and this one's going to sound more negative than ever, yeah, but this is how I see it. The main reason we are actually in 5th place is because Chelsea, Newcastle, and Man U have been that crap as well. If they would have even been slightly better than what they have been, we wouldn't be fighting for a 5th place, trying to get into a 4th place or whatever. In that aspect, we've had lucky that other teams have actually played poor this year. Yeah, at the start, it all looked good. But it was obvious when the teams started playing the same way, every team playing literally the same way against us. And that shows you something. Something has been sussed out. Then that is when the manager is meant to say, right, he's caught me. Now he adapts to it. But again, we're back to that point. He's done nothing. I think if other teams wouldn't have been so poor that they have been, we'd be in a much lower space.
But Dan, do you know one of the most silly narratives I hear from Spurs fans? I hear this all the time. And I bet you there's people in this chat right now that agree with it. But look at Klopp. Look at Arteta. Look at Pep. Look how long they took, right? Huge difference between those 3 managers. They've all been backed with quality footballers, right? Liverpool were allowed to spend 150 million of the Coutinho money on 2 footballers, Alisson and Van Dijk. Spurs would buy 7 for 150 million, right? Arteta, yeah, he's been back. Yeah, by the way, Arsenal were a good side, by the way. Still not winning anything. I'm not knocking them, but that's the levels you have to get to compete with City. And Pep had 1 year at City and then completely ripped it all up. He got 1 year at City, went, nah, boom, 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 boom. Started buying Cole Walkers, blah, 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 blah. Spurs won't do that. So all of this, give Ange 4 years, give Ange. He's never going to get the caliber of player he needs. Never. So
even at the start of their seasons and that, no, they didn't change their whole system, but there were certain games that they did change a few things in. People seem to think are getting confused with what other people are asking for. People seem to think that when you say, I just wanted to adapt, I wanted to change a few things, like your whole asking him to change his whole system. No. Just in certain games like we've just seen, when you know you've got Saka coming down the side and you've got bloody Davis sitting there, now you use Davis as your left back, out and out left back, and have him drift into the middle and only use one inverted wing back. Yes, it's going to change the system a bit, but this is where you've got to adapt. People aren't asking for him to change everything. Certain games, you got to make certain changes. And Klopp did it, Pep did it in their first seasons.
Dan, right? Forget being a coach, right? Forget, you're a coach. Forget all that shit. Let's just apply the most basic football armchair fan brain. How many fans said, if you start Emerson Royale against Salah, we are going to get pumped?
Exactly.
Right? This is the most entry-level football fan, right?
Davis.
Our rival fan said it. What do? We start him against Salah. What happened? Okay. Now, if the most basic armchair, sofa, couch, potato fan can tell you that, why is our manager starting Emerson Royale at left back?
We all said.
And that's all you need to know. This is
it's common sense, some of it.
Non-coaching, non-TV pundit, non-reading Twitter fan.
Salah must have looked at that and gone,
thank you, yes. Come again.
And you could see from the first minute they got the ball to Salah. And I told about it, I said to my mate, they're going to get the ball to him every time. Every time. And you look, even in the second half, how much did Harvey Elliott drift out to the left-hand side to get the ball? Drifting out to overload on Royale. And Brennan Johnson don't do F all to help back.
Neither does Werner. It was like what happened with Davis. Now, the fact that you know the player's going to get done is one thing. But when I'd say 95%, 99% of people of our fan base or others could even tell you exactly what was going to happen, to the point of how the pass would go over to the person and how the person would score it with, like you said, Stel, from an armchair look. That just about says everything. We all knew exactly how Saka was going to get that ball and score it. And part of this is down to where Davis was, because the manager told him to fucking be there.
But mate, before the Newcastle game, we looked at it and went, Harvey Barnes, yeah, and Anthony Gordon are going to have a field day down the channels. And if you watch the interview after the game, I'm not sure if you saw it still, because I know you were at the game and travelling. After the game, you know when BT Sport bring the manager onto the pitch, you know, around the little thing, right? And Eddie Howe, without saying, basically Tottenham were really obvious, basically said Tottenham are really obvious. He said, we know how Spurs play, we knew our plan, and we executed it brilliantly. And we were sitting there before the game going, you cannot have your inverted fullbacks against out-and-out wingers like Barnes and Gordon. Forget what you think of Barnes and Gordon. They are pacey wingers who beat their man on the outside. And we left Gordon one-on-one with Van der Ven and Romero so many times. And for as good as Van der Ven is, by the way, Van der Ven's brilliant. He don't want a player running at him. He likes the race. He'll have the race. He can mop up. But one-on-one, players running at him, he doesn't want that. That's not his game. And you think earlier in the season, Luton did it to us at our ground. I was watching Semenyo of Luton and Doherty of Luton. Again, go out wide, get behind the two inverted fullbacks, you're in.
It's the same
it's
every
mental.
time.
It's mental.
It's because we play
Savva, go to the first game of the season. We drew 2-2 away to Brentford, right? First game of the season, we drew 2-2 away to Brentford. They could have won it 3-2 in the last minutes. They pinged the ball over the wing back and got in, right? From day one, this was happening, and Buemo was ripping us to pieces, right?
Yep.
The first game of the season.
Emerson Royal, that was.
Emerson Royal, right? The first game of the season, we could see the vulnerabilities and the issues with this system. Day one. Fast forward 35 games, 34 games. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. We're talking about the exact same problems.
We made Iwobi and
Iwobi.
I can't remember who the other winger was. Was it Pereira on the day or Willian? We made Willian look like he'd rolled back his years to when he was 25 and playing for Brazil. Like, again, every single club, I say this to you every week still. If you're the manager of a team this week, playing Spurs next week, you are concentrating on, right, when we win that ball, play it down the channels because Spurs can't cope with it. It is not rocket science. This is what is happening game in, game out. But Ange is who we are, mate. No, you can't do that. This high line is suicidal unless you've got protection. It is suicidal. And look, do I feel sorry for Van and Romero? In some ways I do, yes.
God, what defender would want to play like this?
I agree. I thought Romero, towards the back end of yesterday's game, he looked really fed up. He looked fed up as if to say, how can you allow, I appreciate this isn't defend, how can we allow 25 shots on goal, right? Teams go to Anfield, one of the most kind of atmospheric, difficult stadiums in the world to play in. And Spurs just went, yeah, go on, get behind us. Go on, just give the ball to Mo Salah.
So,
baffled, man.
Iggy,
Baffled.
I had this conversation with Iggy, right? And Iggy said, if you think of brilliant Italian defenders like Maldini, Nesta, Cannavaro, Baresi, that ilk, he said to me that what made them so great wasn't just that they were brilliant players, leaders, winners, and all of that. It's that if something wasn't working, they'd go to the gaffer and say, "Gaffer, this isn't working. You need to change it. You need to help us. This isn't happening.
Yeah,
right. Fix it." Without players, is that happening, or is it just I'm just going to be fed up and down tools? Is it right? I'm gonna have this out with the manager, or am I going to sulk? Because from what you've described, Savva, it sounds like Romero. I don't want to say he's sulking, but I'm fed up of this.
Still, the players you just mentioned.
You need to speak to your manager.
Can you leave that up? Can you leave that up?
Yeah, no, don't worry. I had something to say with it as well.
Still,
you speak to your manager and say, "Gaffer, we need a different approach because you are killing me. You are."
Yeah, but the players you mentioned, you mentioned were leaders of men. They were captains. They were leaders. They go into the manager and they're saying, "I'm Maldini," without saying it, but it's, hang on, one of the best defenders ever is coming into me saying, "This isn't working. Right, we need to change it." I don't see any leaders in this team. I don't see anybody in that dressing room that I think could go to knock on the manager's door and go, "Gaffer, can we have a chat?" The players are worried. The players are concerned. I don't think we've got any leaders. I think Romero for me could be, but I think is a bit hot-headed. I don't see Maddison as a leader of men. I've always said it about
there's no captain material in our squad.
No captain material. And if I can address this, please, Dan. Right?
Yeah, I was going to anyway.
Scott.
Go on, mate.
Yes, I did say it was going to be topsy-turvy and we need to stand behind the manager. The problem is, Scott, is there's a difference between being topsy-turvy and the manager trying lots of different things in year one to see what works, right? If I could turn around right now and go, "Oh, well, to be fair, he played wing-backs for 5 games, then it didn't work. He played this line there, he did this line there." I could turn around and go, "Fair play, he's trying to figure it out." But the problem is, Scott, the guy's not learning. He's doing the same thing, game in, game out, game in, game out. And the problem is, Scott, we're getting worse as the season goes on. We're not improving. So when we're talking about get behind him, sure, I'll get behind him. But how many games can we watch him do the same thing before you start going, there's got to be questions asked? Scott, the problem is, mate, we can all try and be the best fan. I'm better than you as a fan. I'm better than you as a fan because I say positive things and I clap really happily. Or we can actually go, hang on, take a step back. And I'll ask this to Stel and Dan right now. Right? Remove your Spurs hats and now say you support anyone. Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. It don't matter. You support someone else. If you're looking at Spurs and you're one of those clubs with their hat on, you are loving what you're seeing at Tottenham. You're not seeing them get better. You're not scared of playing them. None of these teams are scared of playing us.
No, I could sit here and tell a team how to play against us. Now, my answer to this one, you've just basically just answered it. It's exactly the same. Now, let's just forget about this season. It's done. It's dusted, basically. We know that, yeah? But for me, he's got 6 months next season. Unless he buys Werner, then he's got to go straight away. But he's got 6 months. And even if we're still losing games and not looking great, as long as I see him adapting, trying a couple of things in the game, realising that, right, I'm stuck to shit on my left-hand side, I'm going to put a youth left winger in there who plays in that position.
Yeah.
Or I see him do something like what we said earlier. Right, just come back 5 or 10 yards because they're so quick. Or just do this. Or just do a little bit of this and that. If I see him do that, then he gets another 6 months off of me. But if he just does the same thing again and doesn't adapt or change to anything, then in 6 months' time, for me, he's got to go because he's just definitely not going to work, even though we know it's not going to work in the end anyway. But the point is with it is exactly what you said, and probably what Stel might even say. He hasn't given us nothing.
He's not adapting.
To have a bit of hope for because he hasn't tried anything. I mean, still,
just quickly before you bring
we're finishing the season so badly. This is shocking. The season, the way it's ending, it's finishing so badly that where's the momentum to go into next season? Arsenal are finishing super strong, right? Next season they're going into the next season on a high. City always going to every season on a high. Chelsea, they're building momentum for next season. Villa building momentum for next season. Spurs, we're now wondering if Ange is going to be here. What are the transfers going to be like? Brennan Johnson's crap. We're arguing over whether we should sign Timo Werner. YouTube has gone toxic. You know, if this happens against Burnley, it's going to be horrible in that stadium. We're not ending on hope or belief. That's the point.
I think we'll beat the two we're meant to beat, and everyone will gloss over everything. And just quickly, Dan, if I can, I just want to address someone called A.M. Roy in the chat. Don't know if you can see it at 3:15. A.M., you don't see Savva leave YouTube every day. Savva left YouTube coming up to 6 weeks ago now. But just because I stopped my channel doesn't mean I'm not allowed to appear on Stel's channel or Dan's channel. I think I'm allowed to be a guest, right? I don't think there's any rule because I stopped my channel, I can't be a guest. There's no constant switch on and off. My channel has not been going for 6 weeks. So please, this is nothing to do with you. Mind your own business. And if whatever me appearing on a show annoys you, then don't watch. Sorry. I hate these people who think they know what's going on.
Leave them to it, mate. That's what I do with that one.
But Stel's right. We're going like that. Our form is going like that as we go into next season. But I've said it for the last 7 or 8 games. You know when people do this thing and they go, right, let's look at our last 10 games. How many points are we getting? And everyone's going, oh, I think we're going to get 24 out of 30. And 20, right? And I was like, Newcastle beat us, Chelsea beat us, Liverpool beat us, Arsenal beat us, City beat us. But I stand by it. We will beat Sheffield United and Burnley. And that will gloss over everything because it will keep us in front of the teams in 6th and 7th. And it will look on paper like it's been a good season. Because we've got 2 of the relegation teams in the last 3 games.
But the way we've played and been destroyed in our past 4 games, I don't even know if we can go into them games and get something. Because the players are, seriously, when you're that down and you are that grounded, any game can seem like you're playing Man City or Liverpool. Because if the team is that running to the ground, and I'm going back to the point of it's almost looking like he's lost the dressing room. It is starting to look like it. I've seen this happen many times before, especially at Spurs. It's either they just...
I think what's worrying is there's a couple of key players whose body language doesn't look healthy. Maddison's, Son, Romero. There's a couple of... And they're the senior players, you'd say. Their body language doesn't look encouraging. And I think when you see that... Also, Sky reported there was a big bust up at half time between Romero and Emerson Morale. There's a big tear up. These things are very much a sign that, and then the manager coming out saying, I need to rebuild this lot. I need to change it all. Look, there's going to be players that question the caliber of player that they're having to play next to. That's why Harry Kane left. I'm not playing with Dross anymore. Put me with some top players. I'm not doing this anymore, right? You're going to have players at our club asking those questions. You're 100%. There are players in that dressing room who are questioning, but do we always have to invert? Must we always do that every time? Do we always have to play the high line where it's just us left at the back? They're going to be asking those questions, and that puts pressure on the manager to prove to them, no, this will work. Just you wait and see. But the longer it doesn't, the louder those questions become, and the more people that then get on board with that. And eventually, where it leads to is someone goes to Daniel Levy's door, boss, can I speak to you? I'm not sure about this manager, Daniel. And then he gets involved.
Yeah, and then it goes.
Right. So for sure, we're at the early stages of that. Is it salvageable? Yeah. The way you save it is simple. The board backs the manager, sticks by him, and says, no, we've chosen you for a reason. We believe why we chose you. There is a project here. We are going to back you. What do you need, Ange? What do you need? That's how you do it. But if that doesn't happen, and there's a high chance that doesn't, we'll be having this conversation in 6 months' time. The wheels will come flying off, and we'll be arguing why Graham Potter turned us down for a second time, why Nagelsmann still doesn't want to come to us, and how Ryan Mason got the fucking job. That's where we'll be at in 6 months' time. I guarantee it, Dan.
When we look at it, right?
I can see it. I can see it, mate.
That's how it goes.
When we look at this, right? People were all said, "Oh, he shouldn't have sold Harry Kane." Like the guy wanted to go.
He hated
now,
us.
Can we see why top players like Harry Kane want to leave Tottenham Hotspur? Can we see why Modric wanted to leave? Why Bale wanted to leave? These players want to leave because we never do. We get to there. We never want to take the plunge to there. We never want to take the plunge to there. And the same fans, I remember before we actually knew each other still, before we'd ever spoken in person and we'd seen each other on Twitter back in the day. Yeah. I remember the abuse we'd get when we were saying, oh, you know, the stadium, the game-changing stadium won't change how Daniel Levy does business. It won't change anything. Now, all the people that were talking about the game-changing stadium, and you'll see, are the same ones saying Spurs can't buy better players. Spurs can't compete in the market. I'll ask the question, what was the bloody point in building the new stadium then? Because it weren't for footballing reasons, right?
It doesn't
this
seem
is what
that way,
gets
does
me.
it?
This is what absolutely gets me. So look, at the end of the day, mark this date, 6th of May next year. Dan, I reckon you'll do a show. I reckon Spurs will be 5th, 6th, 7th again. And no closer to the big boys. There might be some movement in that big three because of Liverpool. We don't know, obviously, with their new manager coming in. But I fully expect Arsenal and Man City to be exactly where they are again next year. Villa, when Villa get Champions League football, you know they're going to be backed. You know their owner's going to back them, and they're going to try and build even further into that squad they've got. And this is an Aston Villa team. Sorry if I'm going on a tangent. This is an Aston Villa team that I argued with people at the beginning of the season were better than Spurs. That they had better players than Spurs. Right? That not only are they 7 points clear of us in the league, they've also played a full calendar in the Conference League. So what's that, 12 games? Is that an extra 12, 13 games on top they've played in that competition?
We've played basically the minimum amount of games you can play in a season.
Embarrassing.
Basically. That is literally what we have done. The 2 cup games
How many have we played? 40?
I don't even think it's that many. At the end of the year, it'd be about 40, 41 because we went out the first round of the League Cup and what was it? Second round of the FA Cup, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, because we beat Burnley, didn't we? Yeah, so 41.
That's right.
41
so 41 games. Nearly the minimum amount of games you can play in a season. And you're hearing things like the players are burnt out, the players are knackered. So what are we going to do if we get Conference or Europa League next year? You just think, how are they going to handle that? I still think I mean, a lot of people took in what Harry Kane said, but they all said Eric Dyer's full of it. Eric Dyer in an interview stated quite clearly that whenever they done training with Ange, the only thing they ever trained for was his style of play.
Yeah, going
and
forward.
everyone said, what load of bullshit, he's just saying it. Well, it's not exactly looking like as though he does train for the next game, except doing what Eric Dyer has said and trying to teach everyone to play this way. They've got more time than practically any other top 6 team to plan ahead. We had 2 weeks to plan ahead for Arsenal, and we go and stick fucking Ben Davies on the left-hand side, basically on his Jack Jones.
Dan, what I will say is Eric Dyer shouldn't speak. Like,
maybe he shouldn't,
because this guy was given tactics under Conte, and he was still shit. So
excuse me, that's Champions League winner-elect Eric Dyer you're talking about there.
Do you know what? If Eric Dyer gets his hands on the Champions League, I am honestly thinking about just jacking it in and just I'll support by Leverkusen or something. Honestly, could you imagine this? Harry Kane holding one handle, Eric Dyer holding the other handle. They lift it together.
Do you know the funny thing? I thought he was exceptional against Arsenal, and I thought he was really good against Real Madrid. I hate him, by the way. But that will be. You know, when we talk about Spurs...
Shocking for Spurs, though, for 9 years.
The most Spursy thing ever is that Eric Dyer becomes our 5th choice centre-half that can't get a game for us, goes to Bayern Munich, who don't win the league for the first time in a decade, and is 2 games away from lifting the Champions League trophy. That would be the most Spursy thing ever.
Mate, it would be shocking. Right, just a quick one. Samuel, my little brother. Hello, mate. I hope all's good for you. It would be... It would just have Spurs written all over it down to a T.
Wouldn't it?
I mean, first off, we're talking about, is it like the Harry Kane poison sort of thing, chalice that he's got, that he goes to Bayern Munich where you put your house on it, that they win the fucking league or a cup at least and does nothing. But then Eric Dyer goes there as well and they just say bollocks and go win the Champions League, the pair of them.
Can I ask you 2 questions? Right. Talking about painful situations, right? Like Dyer.
That's why I need a beer.
Mate, go for it. If anyhow Spurs ended up 6th or 7th this year, high probability that won't happen, but there is a chance it could. If we were to finish 6th or 7th, especially 7th, do you think they give Ange the chop?
I don't think they will, because I don't think he'll want the upheaval 2 years in a row, or 3 or 4 years in a row. But can we agree, Stel, to change your point slightly? Can we agree if we would finish 6th or 7th from how many points we were ahead in 4th place for most of the season? What an absolute shocking second half of the season it would have been.
Well, after 10 games. I remember watching Match of the Day. They said that every team after 10 games that went unbeaten and had acquired these many points, so basically what Spurs had done, 25% of those teams went on to win the league. 74% ended up finishing top 4. 1% ended up out of the top 4. So we're already in that 1%. So if any club could go a bit more lower, it could be us, Savva. And yeah, I personally think from how we started the season to have choked a top 4 race, I find that unacceptable. Personally speaking, if you've got high standards. But
for me, still,
if we finish lower, I agree. Savva, I agree. If we finish lower,
just before Dan answers, right?
It is.
I don't want to be a hypocrite. For me,
very poor.
I'm not bothered about league position. I've said that at the beginning of the season, guys. I'm not bothered. For me, I want to see that we're going in the right direction. That was the big thing for me this year when I said give this manager time. I'll go back to it again. The worry is I'm not seeing that. The worry is that we seem to be getting worse and worse and worse as the season is going on. The players seem less and less and less interested. We're getting worse and worse and worse. We're conceding more and more, and I'm emphasising these words, more and more goals. We're scoring less and less and less. This is the problem. If your trajectory is like that, you can follow any plan or project you like in the business world or anything. If your trajectory is doing this, yeah, it's very hard to just turn around and go, that's all right, everything will be good next year because our manager says, mate.
Look, I said at the start of the season, you know what? A few people would have had the ump on that, and I suppose I'd have had the ump on one side. But do you know what? If he'd have finished 10th or 12th, but we'd have won that fucking League Cup, I'd have been able to sit there and say, do you know what? All right, your season's been pretty shit, but we got a bit of silverware on there. Now you've got next season with me. I think he shot himself in the foot the moment he changed 9 players and totally blew that cup out the window. Because if there is a cup that we could get, that is a possibility. And I think he shot himself in the foot with that completely. I mean, Arteta bought himself excess time through getting that Champions League. Not Champions League, sorry, FA Cup.
FA Cup.
Yeah. And I would have just been... I am at that point now. I said it on your show last night still, where... Take me back 6 years as a supporter. Yes, getting in the Champions League, great. I didn't care about the FA Cup and League Cup. It's now got me to that point where I could not give a monkeys about the FA Cup, the Champions League or the Europa Cup, whatever. And I just want to see us win an FA Cup or a League Cup to the point where I'm that desperate that I'll give the whole season up just to win a League fucking Cup.
You'll finish 17th, but win the League Cup just for a day out.
But Dan, here's the thing, right? This is another.
It's bad, isn't it? It's bad.
Dan, this is another thing I hear so many fans say, right? Oh, but at the start of the season, we said 6th or 7th is about right. Now you want more. And I'm like, no, hold on. Expectations change based on how a season pans out. If I said to you at the start of the season, Man United would be a catastrophe, Chelsea would be all over the place, Newcastle and Brighton would suffer lots of injuries and struggle to play in Europe and in the Premier League. If I told you that, would you have said to me, yes, 7th is okay? No, you wouldn't. But that's what happened. We played 1 game a week. Yeah, we had injuries, but we also spent £200 million on new players. We're clearly above those teams this season. Mm-hmm. So your expectations have to adapt. They have to change. It's like, and then I said to this person, if you said to me, Stel, I expect by the end of this year, I'm going to buy a Mercedes-Benz. I've been saving up. I realistically think that's the car that I can buy. And by the end of this year, that's what I expect. But what happens if during the season you win the lottery? You ain't buying no Mercedes-Benz. You're buying a Ferrari. You're buying a Bugatti. Right?
Sure you are.
Expectations change based on circumstances. So when fans say this whole, but at the start of the season, forget the start of the season. Look how things have gone. Leicester City, when they started the season in 2017, did they say, or 2016, whatever it was, did they say, this season we're going to win the league? No, they didn't. They said, let's try and get into the top 10. That's the expectation. As the season went on, they found themselves top of the table. So the expectation must have changed to, guys, do you know what? Forget that top 10. Let's get top 4. We can get Champions League. And with 10 games to go, are you telling me in their heads they're not thinking, we can win the league? We can be Premier.
Of course.
Expectations change as the season progresses.
Of course it does.
What we do at Spurs is, no, we can't do that at Spurs because we don't like opportunity.
But the thing is,
we don't like grabbing what's put in front of us. We just go by what we said a year ago.
But we're contradictory with this, Stel. Still, we're contradictory with that because the same people that were coming onto my channel when I had it and I was going onto their shows were calling me negative and deluded because I said we couldn't win the league and we weren't in a title race. They're the ones saying, why can't we? We've got the best this, the best that. We've got this. Ange is great. Then all of a sudden, when you're 20 points off it, they're the same fans now that are going, oh, but hang on, at the beginning of the season, we would have all taken 5th or 6th. Oh, hang on. Yes, we would have. But you guys told me we were in a title race. So by your definition, we failed. Not mine. I didn't expect us to be up there. By your definition, we failed. Because you told me that we were as good as City. You told me we were as good as Liverpool. And I just want to say, Ben Kaufman's point in the chat is bang on. Bang on about Harry. Take me back to Harry Redknapp days. 2 flying wingers, 2 fullbacks that got up and back all day long. We defended well, we attacked as a team, and we flew at teams in the first 10 minutes of games. Give me that all day, every day over this inverted nonsense. And
can I bet, Ben, I'll go one better than that. take me back to the 90s. Yes, the 90s. I expected nothing. I knew we were shit. I accepted we were shit. I never thought we'd been a damn thing. And do you know what? There was none of this. Oh, this player's a superstar. This player's going to be the next Messi. Oh, trophies are coming. In the 90s, do you know what? We knew exactly what we were.
Yeah.
And it was what it was. Now, we think we're something we're not. Now we're just deluded. In the 90s, we were shit. But we weren't deluded. We knew we were shit. Now
But we still won
shit,
cup.
but we think we're great. Now we're shit. We think we're great.
It's true. And with what going on, what you two have just said, at the start of the season, if someone would have said to me, yeah, I admit that, I'd have been sweet at that. But then when you see that a couple of the players he's got in are actually significantly better than you realised, and then you actually see your club starts doing something, your attitude changes. You think, yeah, actually, we can do something with this. So your opinion changes. That is the whole point of football. It's not that you just sit there and say, exactly. It's not that you just sit there and go, right, I think we're going to finish fifth. I bite your hand off for that and I'll stick to that. Well,
Dan, last season, right? Arsenal entered the season in the Europa Cup. Spurs under Conte took Champions League spot off of them. When Arsenal entered that season, did they think we can win the league? Or did they think, right, we've got to get top four this year because bloody Spurs beat us to it. We can't have that happen again. The expectation was, let's try and win a domestic cup and top four. That was what they said. With 10 games to go, Arsenal, no, we can win the league. We can be because the season went in a way that no one saw.
Adapts.
And
it changes.
And it fizzled out at the end. Exactly. Every club does this. Every club changes expectations. But when we change expectations,
we're not allowed to.
Remember what you said 16 years ago? Oh my God. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's crazy. That's the excuse. The big channels are saying that. The big channels are saying, oh, but remember what we said 8 months ago? Mate, 8 months ago is a different time. It's a different period.
Can we talk about this thing lately as well? That we can only seem to start going forward in games when we're 2, 3, or 4 down.
Right, pressure's off.
Yeah, big up Cougar. Right. And then can we stop collectively, then start using it in shows afterwards and in our chats afterwards to go, but we showed fight and we fought back.
Oh,
Liverpool went 4-0 up. Liverpool went 4-0 up, put their feet up. We conceded 2, and if you conceded 2 to us, and
they made loads of changes as well, loads of subs.
They
after they conceded
for God's
2,
sake.
But after they conceded the 2 against us, notice how they ramped it up again. Notice how they then started having chance after chance after chance. This has got us. We did this with Arsenal.
Disallowed goals, offside goals.
3-0 down. People going, oh, this group never give up. No, they gave up by going 3-0 down. They gave up by going 4-0 down. Yeah? Scoring goals when you're 4-0 down, what does it matter? What does... It's just vanity at that point. That's just something to give the away fans something to remember. It's... You know...
It just makes it look prettier. It just makes it look a little bit prettier. We only got back into that game, same as the game with Arsenal, because they said, yeah, done and dusted, complacent, which can be a very dangerous thing. I mean, complacency is what gets you knocked out in the boxing, which what gets you go down from 3-0 to 3-0 or whatever in football. It can happen. But it's not because you've done it that much better. It's because they've actually got complacent on it. That is the only reason we got back into that Arsenal game. It's the only reason we got a couple of goals against Liverpool. Because they got complacent and the job was already done. It just now looks like that we give them a fight because of the score. Yeah, when it blatantly wasn't. We was
Dan,
done
let me ask you a
and
question.
Dusted, mate.
Let me ask you a question, both of you, but anyone in the chat as well. Anyone remember the last time we were 3-0 down at home to Arsenal and 4-0 down away at Liverpool? Because I seem to remember having much worse managers than this, with much worse squads, but that actually put up a fight, that actually made it difficult for Arsenal at our ground. They made it difficult at Anfield. But this system is making it so easy. In that first half, right, if it wasn't for their lacklustre shooting, we could have gone in at 8-9-0 at half time. We were absolutely dreadful.
And a couple of saves off Vicario.
And just press conference afterwards when he said that first half was more like who we want to be. What? What are you talking about, Ange? We had one shot in the first half that was off target, one shot, and conceded 2, but should have been 7 or 8. What?
Savva, right? Like, real talk.
Real talk.
Losing to Arsenal at home, I can fully accept that on the basis that they're a better club with better players and they're 5 years into their process. Mm-hmm. I can accept it. I hated it. The way it happened was bullshit. I can accept it.
Agreed.
Losing at Anfield, whether it's 4-1, 4-2, 1-0, I can accept it. It's Anfield. 9 out of 10 teams go there. It's a tough gig, right? I can accept it. The Newcastle defeat was a tough one, but we know St James's Park can be difficult for many teams. So I'm borderline. To go to Stamford Bridge against a team on their knees with nothing but kids on the bench and the manager forced to put out players, not choosing to put them out, and then the subs he makes has to be kids, and losing and being outplayed, and they had an abysmal striker. For me, that Chelsea game was unacceptable in every which way. And you know what? That's why Ange flipped in that game, because he knew, fuck me, this is bad. He didn't flip against Arsenal.
On him.
Exactly. This is what I was going to say. Him. That is on. Yes, it is. And that's why, Savva, he flipped. Because when you coach, when you manage, you only get angry when you know that either your players have really, really, really let you down massively, or you fucked up. I fucked up. And I think Ange in that game realized, shit, this has all got to change. I think he had an epiphany. Now he's either got to change or he will die on this sword. That
Still
Chelsea
agree.
Game, you can't. There's no excuses for that Chelsea game. I can find excuses for the others, but for that Chelsea game, it beggars belief.
Yeah, but still, yes and no. I agree with you. Losing to Arsenal, they're better than us. Losing to Liverpool, they're better than us. I agree, but it's the way. Listen, someone might prove me wrong.
Yes, how we lose.
I'm sure it has happened.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time we went to Anfield and were 4 down. Like, we go to Anfield and we get outplayed, but 4 down against a Liverpool that, let's be brutally honest, they haven't got anything to play for. They're not winning the league. They're out of the cups now, and Liverpool were not in good form. But they played Tottenham, bish, bash, bosh, 4-0 in the hour, and you're going, what? Arsenal. The worrying thing for me still with that, Arsenal have been brilliant this season, especially since the turn of the year. That wasn't a brilliant Arsenal that beat us. This was an Arsenal that didn't need to get out of first gear to be 3-0 up at half time.
They tactically set up the way they did, though. They
did. But
they copied the blueprint.
Arteta tactically changed what he did to counter Spurs, right?
Yeah.
Ange doesn't tactically set up to counter anybody. Absolutely anybody. So when teams are playing us, you watched yesterday, they had 2 people on Kulu because they know he can't beat them on the outside. Right? They left Brennan Johnson 1-on-1 because they know he can't beat his man. Right? The midfield, they had 2 men in their midfield. They didn't need 3 because they know that our 3 are all defensive and none of them have got anything going forward. These teams and these managers are tacticians. They think about these things. They dictate. Ange is that's how we play, mate. Go and play. Against that Chelsea, we should have been so fired up after losing to Arsenal still. We should have been so fired up that the first half, we're coming out, tackles flying in everywhere, hard to beat, sit back for 10 minutes, don't do anything silly. But after the first 3 or 4 minutes where we had the ball, same pattern as yesterday, 3 or 4 minutes, we had the ball. As soon as those teams settle down, they realise this team hasn't got any way to break us down. And the only time those teams let in goals is when they're flying and they're up against us. It's the same thing every week, but we're being told this is what worked at Celtic. This is what worked for Australia. This is what worked in Japan. This ain't working here. This is not going to work.
The Scottish League or Japan, this is what I keep saying. Most people on here can't even name the fucking 12 teams in the Scottish Premier League. There's probably 1 or 2 that can, but I'd say the majority of them can't. I know I can't. This is where we keep going back to the adapt point. This is the Premiership. It ain't happening as simple as that. Other last point, I'll get on with it. set pieces, 30%, 28%, whatever you want to be exact, of our goals conceded are down to set pieces. And you can blatantly see that it is down to the zonal marking where we've got 6 or 7 players sitting in the middle. And then you look behind us, there's a whole Arsenal bunch or Chelsea bunch about 12 yards behind us that just run into the middle. Are you telling me the manager doesn't notice this either? Or is it
12 in
just
12,
down
Dan. Our last 12 games, 12 set pieces. So we're 1 for 1. We're 1 for
Surely
1 for a quarter of a season.
And are you telling me the manager don't notice this? Or the manager has nothing? Now I get that we haven't got a special set piece person.
Dan,
well, go and get one then.
Dan, he knows. He knows. He just doesn't know what to say. That's the truth. He doesn't know what to say. He knows.
Can I bring up a point? Right?
Go for it.
There are people that will overhype our back four, right? That will also overhype Ange. Right? You can't have it both ways. Because I keep hearing this is the best back four we've had since Toby, Jan, Rose and Walker. If that's the case, then it's the manager's tactics while we're letting in goals. So you can't have it both ways. You can't think both of those two things are true. If this is the best back four we've had and we're still conceding more or to potentially more than last season with Davis, Dyer, Sessegnon, Spence for a bit, Royale, if that's the case, then it's the manager's tactics, right? Surely, Dan, both those things can't go. It can't be the best defence we've had and he's tactically brilliant. Otherwise, you wouldn't be letting in all the goals.
Well, it's nearly as bad as the defence we had last season. That defence we had last season wasn't even Premier League standard defence.
Right.
And we are nearly there. What is it I said we're on at the moment?
We're 5 away. 5 away with 3 games.
From having our joint worst season in the Premiership with goals conceded.
Erling Haaland could do that to us on his own.
Yet we've got probably, if you look at player for player, we got one of the better defences we've had since we've had Højbjerg. What's his name? I've got the bloody 2 defenders now. They've gone off my mind. 2 Belgian ones we had with Walker and Rose.
Toby and Jan.
That's the one. Yeah. Since that defence, this is probably the best one we've had on paper.
I'm yet to see. Yeah, I mean, I'm yet to see it. I don't believe it.
I would say Michael Dawson and Ledley King was a pretty good combination for us.
Mm.
Yeah. But again, I look again. I think he's got it all wrong. We're playing
it the wrong way.
At fullback, and not even being allowed to do what fullbacks do. They're inverting. Right? It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and be Ange out.
Not yet.
Equally, if I woke up tomorrow and Ange went, I'd waste no energy on him. I don't really care. I wanted him to come in, and for me, he's the one that's not shown us Spurs fans anything that makes us think this is a guy that can compete. And that's the difference. That's the difference. He doesn't need to come in year 1 and win something. He doesn't need to come in year 1 and beat Pep and beat Klopp and beat all them. But he needs to show that tactically he's got some nous about him.
He's got a brain.
And yeah, his press conferences. I mean, what he said yesterday after the game, it just
but the
beggars belief.
Savva, the problem you've got here is you can bring in a manager that's got nous, that's got something about him, but he's going to come from a very unproven situation, and it's another risk, it's another punt, okay? Maybe he can't handle the pressure of the situation. So the other option is, right, let's bring in a proven manager. But the problem with a proven manager is he comes in and says to the board, listen, I ain't doing it like this. You did it my way. My way works. And then the board like, sorry, you're not a yes man. No, I'm a winner.
Mate, I get that.
So whoever we bring in, there's always going to be a problem until this ownership gives the manager the controls. But on this occasion, and this is why Ange has just shot himself in the foot. He's been such a unifier in the sense of it's on me. Like we lost to Liverpool, we lost to Chelsea. Blame me. It's all on me. Right. Well, we are then. We're blaming you. So why are Spurs fans having to go at us? Because you told us to blame you. You're telling us it's on you. We're doing what you say, and then we get attacked for doing what you said.
He's definitely done himself no favours, hasn't he? I mean, just a quick question.
He talks so much. Maz always says this, doesn't he, on your show?
He talks too much, yeah.
Ange talks so much to the press that it's a timeline of contradiction. It's like that.
He's going to contradict himself one day, isn't he?
He is contradicting himself.
Savva, I said it first on our channel.
All right, Maz.
I wish Stel Maz. I literally said, me and Maz were talking about his comments because Maz brought up the conversation of his comments are just, he needs to just stop saying certain things. I said, Maz, I want him to stop speaking. I actually don't want him to speak anymore because he's just digging this hole. And then Maz has gone with it since, and he keeps saying it. And I agree. You're right.
You brought it up earlier. 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, whatever it is, we're challenging for a title, and then all of a sudden you lose 4 in a row, and it's I've got to change the entire squad. Any of them that don't believe. It's like, hang on, mate.
He said he doesn't like it when managers say they can't play a certain way. Yeah. Just do it. And now he's saying I can't play this way. I need to rebuild the team.
I just think look. I'm not one.
He does himself no favours.
I don't like to belittle other leagues, right?
And he doesn't do himself any favours.
They are what they are, right? I don't want to belittle other leagues. But there is a huge difference between taking over at Celtic, who are the Man City of Scotland, right? Where whether he implemented the nice football there or not, they're going to win that league, right? There's a difference between that and having to play Ross County and Motherwell and Aberdeen and St Johnstone and Kilmarnock. I'm trying to do all 12 and St Mirren and I don't know, right? There's a difference between that and then coming up against Klopp with Van Dijk, right? And Alexander-Arnold and Robertson and Salah and Diaz. There's a huge difference. And this is what I don't know if he's going to get that because he's not a young manager. Like when we look at Arteta is... And I'm not going to heap praise on him because so far he won the FA Cup, cool, but he's still got to prove himself as a winner. But Arteta is a young manager in terms of his coaching career. He's 4.5, 5 years into his managerial career, and before that, he learnt from the best. He learnt from Pep for 4 or 5 years at Man City, didn't he? Or 3 years, whatever it was at Man City. So that guy's had a good grounding and is now learning and formulating his own ideas and plans, right?
He's also showing he can adapt.
Exactly. Now, Ange is a 58-year-old man that is coming out and telling people, I don't change. We don't change. That's not what we do. We don't worry about defending set pieces. We don't worry about what other teams do. I want to hear a manager that says... Like when he's questioned, Ange, you've let in all these set pieces. Did you know this? I want a manager that turns around, and I don't know about you two, but that says, do you know what? You're right. It's unacceptable we've conceded that many set pieces. That's what we're going to work on. And in the summer, that is going to be one of our key priorities. And next year, you'll see us much better set up defensively from those set pieces. As a fan, I turn around and go, you've acknowledged it. You know there's a problem. Now prove it and fix it. But what I'm hearing is, what problem? I'm going to get us challenging for things, and it's going to have nothing to do with defending set pieces. Half our fan base went, oh my God, Ange is saying that next year we're going to challenge for a title. In my mind, I'm going, yeah, but Ange, you're in denial. You've just admitted that there's nothing wrong with our defending for set. Like, what are you doing?
If you can't admit or see there's a problem, then there is no problem to fix. The problem's still blatantly there, but if you don't see the problem, then there's no problem to fix. We shall see. Right, I'm going to try and end this on a positive one, which will probably fail as well. Next game, Burnley. Where do you see this one going, you two?
I'll let Stel go first on this one.
I expect us to win.
You can only try. You can only try.
Yeah, that's all we do every year. Just try. I think. By the way, can I just say one thing we haven't spoken about today? I really thought that was a penalty when what's his name jumped up in the air, tried to clear the ball by the back post. I thought it was a penalty on us that wasn't given. Don't know what you thought.
Not for me, mate. I thought it was brilliant
50,
defending.
50. I thought we had the right to go for
too high.
Things, what's the defender meant to do? But here nor there. But what's the defender meant to do? He's got to go for it, hasn't he? He's got to try and stop the ball going in the net. I wish I was good.
He's got to go for it. But I thought he went for it, and it was the foot was too high. But I thought I'd bring it up because that's something was a bit unfair. But anyway, we still would have lost. Doesn't matter. Burnley, I think we beat them. I think we beat Burnley. At home, there's more about us at home in terms of we have a purple patch where we kind of do win games. We beat Nottingham Forest, Luton, the really bad teams at home. Burnley are low. The only thing with Burnley is have they still got a chance of staying up or not?
Yeah, but still, this is a Burnley that just conceded 4 at home to Newcastle.
Yeah, well, so did we.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is God, Carrot, you do you. I'll do me after. Go on.
Look, I think we will beat Burnley, but it's one of those games where if we just assume we're going to beat them, they could shock us. I don't think they beat us. I don't. But if they play like they're fighting for their lives and they've found a little bit of half decent form recently, nothing wow, but they found a bit of form. I know they lost the last game. This could end up in a draw. It could. I'm not saying it will. I think Spurs win 2-1, 3-1. But if it ends in a draw, I will not be shocked. I won't. If we do draw, though, it's going to go very toxic in that stadium. I know it will. So, because now you're looking at Newcastle, United, Chelsea, one of them potentially catching us, and then fans are going to start losing their shit. So I'm going to say Spurs win, but I'm not writing off a draw. Not at all.
I think somebody's made a great point there and said that Burnley have to win. They can't draw or lose. They're relegated if they draw or lose. I don't know if they want to throw some extra fuel on the fire with that fact. Listen, let's be brutally honest. We should be dispatching Burnley at home comfortably. I don't care how bad we've been. When you look at their squad, you look at ours, they've conceded 74 goals all season. Not too far away from us, actually. 74 goals all season, right? They've just conceded 4 at home to Burnley. They play an open and expansive game, which has been Company's downfall. I fully expect this to be a 3 or 4-1 win for Spurs. We'll definitely concede. But I hate agreeing with Stel, but I agree with Stel. If it was to end 1-1 or 2-2, I wouldn't get to the end of the day and go, I can't believe it. I would firmly believe it. I'll just say, more than anything, and we'll probably talk about this if you let me on next week, Dan, but
that's fine, mate.
The Man City game scares the absolute living crap out of me. You think Man City, penultimate game of the season to win the league, I just, with our high line, I just can't imagine what they're going to do to us. I really can't.
I'm more scared of us beating them because that would be the most Spurs fucking thing you could ever do.
Mate, we will not beat Man City.
Let's just hope and pray.
Mate, they're 31 unbeaten and we are shipping goals left, right, and centre.
But it would just be Spurs down to a T to go and beat them and Arsenal go and win the league.
And I hope they smash us out of the park. I hope they destroy us.
I'm the same.
Because if it means they win the league, I couldn't care less. We've got nothing to play for.
Yeah, I agree.
We're not getting top 4. Champions League isn't going to happen. That's done. We're going to get Europe, whatever happens. Our season has ended. We're done.
I agree.
Exactly.
It's going to stop Arsenal winning the league title. Let's be fair, and I'll be one of those fans. I'm normally like, don't worry about them, but that's the only thing we've got left to play for now is to stop our rivals winning something.
The only thing we've got to play for is to make sure that we get a complete spanking and walk off that pitch like John fucking Wayne, so that Arsenal don't win the bloody league.
Then again, I could see Arsenal dropping points at United next week.
Who knows?
City beat us. Don't care what the score is. 1-0, 5-0. I'm going to clap. I am going to clap if we lose this game because it's the only thing where I'm going to say I'm satisfied today. I'm actually satisfied with this result. Imagine we score against City and go 1-0 up. How do you cheer that? How can we cheer that as honestly? How do you jump up with real?
That's why. Still, that is why I am really hoping and praying that Arsenal slip up to United before they play us.
Yeah.
Before we play City, because
we can
then it would be a little bit. But honestly, I heard all of this before we played them in the FA Cup. Do you remember? This is before Man City were in their flow. and Man City came to our ground, had something like 25 shots, and did we have one shot in 90 minutes off target? So listen, it is what it is. I just can't. I can't deal. Then we'll batter Sheffield United, end it on a high, and everyone will be looking forward to next season.
Put that up, down, put that comment by Eel. 1 up.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm doing a pause now.
I'm 4-0 down. I'm doing a positive.
Oh, but look, thanks for having me on, Dan. I needed
Let some steam off.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Like, I just can't keep watching this fake positivity that's flying around when we're losing 4 in a row. I just can't.
Just to go on this one, Dan, I was hoping it was going to be a positive ending. Well, I was hoping these two were going to be the positive ones.
We did. We said we're going to batter Burnley.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm just going to be gospel.
We're going to make sure Arsenal don't win the league.
Yeah,
I'm just going to be gospel honest here. The way we're playing at the moment, the way the players look like he's either lost them or they just can't be bothered anymore. Do you know what? It would not surprise me if we lost every game that is coming up to play in the season because we got nothing there to play for. The players can't be fucking bothered. The manager just looks shot for ideas. It
okay, then, Dan.
Surprise me
by your theory,
as long as we lose
the
City,
next 3,
I'm happy.
If we lose the next 3, Dan, and that would mean 7 on the bounce, and that would mean 8 defeats from our last 10 games. Does he have to be sacked? 8 from 10.
I'm past caring in that aspect.
Yeah, but no, that's not what I'm asking.
I know. The season's
10,
already done.
You get sacked managing Sheffield United and losing 8 in 10.
I get it. I do get it. But for me, no matter what happens now, he's got 6 months next season to prove that he's got plans out there, that he can adapt, that he can get the players in to play this way. I don't care if we go and lose every game 10-0 now. I really could not care less. That is where it's got me. As long as we lose that one against City, I don't care.
It's fizzled out.
If we lose the next 3 and Chelsea or Newcastle or both of them win 2 out of the last 3, you know we're in the Conference League next season.
I don't really care, mate. I really don't.
I think that's more on.
I don't even think we're good enough for the Conference League at the minute because we are struggling playing 1 game a bloody week.
You can forget any rebuild if we're in the Conference League. They're not going to put nowhere near the money needed.
No, I get it.
You know what they'll do even more if we're in the Conference League?
By Timo Werner.
It will be quantity. It will be quantity. It will be right. Have we got enough players to play 2 games a week? Let's go and buy 7, 8, or 9 players. Yeah. But I'm at the stage, guys.
We'll sign Lloyd Kelly, Timo Werner.
I don't care what European competition we're in next year. This manager hasn't even shown he can adapt from Saturday to Saturday, let alone Sunday to Thursday to
Saturday to Saturday.
But still, most of the time, it's Saturday. It's Saturday to 14 days later Saturday that he can't adapt to. He has. You think this man? I think you might have said this still, or somebody yesterday or the day before on your show might have said this. This manager, more than any other manager in the last 20 years, right, has had more time, Dan, on the training pitch with these players than any other manager has had throughout a season.
Yep, I know.
No Europe, no cup run. He's got them 5 days a week on the training ground, setting up ready for the opposition of the weekend.
And they look worse than the start of the bloody season.
Exactly. Now, sometimes you can say, oh, hang on, well, we've had to travel to the deepest, darkest ends of Eastern Europe on the Thursday. We didn't get back till the Friday night. You know, Saturday they rested, Sunday they played again. There's not really been any time. I get that. I get it from a human point of view. But when you've had all week and you know, right, this week we're playing Liverpool. Right, you know they're going to get it to Salah. And your answer is, we'll stick Emerson out there. That's when you know you've got issues. That's when you know you've got issues.
Listen, we struggled against Nottingham Forest at home. We struggled against Crystal Palace at home. We struggled against Luton Town at home. But because we beat them, everyone was, hurrah, hurrah. As soon as we come up against teams of stature, we've completely collapsed.
Game over.
We have gone off a cliff.
But when I sat on YouTube and said, this isn't sustainable. We will dip. Teams are working us out. I got told we were brilliant for 10 games. We weren't. If you break
we were
those
lucky
10
in half
games
of
down,
it. We were good for some
Yeah.
of it, but half of it we was actually lucky as well.
I thought we were lucky against Brentford in the first game. I
Man
thought
U
Man United, the first half,
should
they
have been
were
3
all
up.
over us. I thought we were lucky against Crystal Palace when we won 2-1. I thought we were really poor in that game. Arsenal could have been out of sight in the first half when we played them. Luton away, we were poor. But that first 10 games made everyone go, I think we're winning a league. I think we can win the league. Anyway, thanks for having me, Dan. I must go. It's Bank Holiday Monday.
Yeah, same. I've got to go and start making dinner now. And right, Savva, do we find you anywhere? Or are you just going to pop up here and there and everywhere sort of thing?
Unless anyone's got my address, you don't find me, or my phone number, you don't find me anywhere.
Fair enough. And Savva? I think Savva still.
You call me Sarah if you want.
Sorry,
tonight, 8:30 p.m. Tottenham away, Monday night show. We'll get into it. Iggy, Maz, me, Lee, Will. Will if he comes out. I don't know where Will is. JP. That's it.
Okay. There you go, everybody. Right. I don't ask very often, but I do ask at the end. Give us a like and subscribe. It would be appreciated. It does help. Stel, Savva, thank you for coming on. Great show, everyone. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves and come on, you Spurs.
Yeah.